All set. Time to play ball. The Dodgers and the Expos, and stepping into the batter's box, Mariano Duncan, hitting 250. He's hit safely in 6 out of 7, and he has a 250 batting average of 4 home runs and 19 runs batted in. Joe Heskett, the left-hander, coming to the top, ready to go. For an AstroTurf here again in Montreal. Had rained this afternoon. Breaking ball is in there for a strike, and it's 0-1 to begin the ball game. Joe Heskett worked his way into the starting rotation with a good swing, even at the Dodgers bond in the only time they saw him in the spring. Next pitch, an Allen hit foul back of the plate, and it goes for a strike 2 count quickly to Mariano Duncan. The Dodgers coming off the blanking last night by a left-hand pitcher, Shane Raleigh. So they are looking at a left-hander for the 3rd consecutive game. They bombed Jerry Koosman and company in the middle game of the series in Philadelphia, but then were blanked last night. And now look at one of the best young left-handers in the league in Joe Heskett, H-E-S-K-E-T-H. Mariano Duncan waiting. Now the wind-up pitch on the way, and there's a fly ball along the right field line going foul and down into the stands out of play. Crowd somewhere around 20,000 for the ball game this evening. The Expos are having a tough time here at home. They came home on Monday. They had a makeup game with the Mets and lost that one 1-0. The Padres came in, and they were shut out twice by the Padres and had 2 runs in one ball game, one of those an unearned run. So all of a sudden, the Expos have just stopped hitting. The pitch to Duncan, and that's a swing and a miss, and he's out on strike. So Duncan goes down on strikes to begin the ball game, and the batter now will be Enos Cabal back in the lineup. Enos making his first appearance on the road trip. You might recall he pulled a muscle in his side in a game against Atlanta on the 13th. So he's been out 10 days. And Enos now says he's okay and is going to give it a try here. He pulled that muscle in the rib cage on the left side. And it's a little strange that it bothered his throwing perhaps as much as it did swinging the bat. So here's Cabal at bat with 1 away, and Heskett now into the windup, and the pitch on the way. Breaking ball, that's too low, ball 1. The plate umpire is Eric Gregg. Dana Demuse, Joe West, and Frank Pulley working the base paths. A lot of daylight left here with a few clouds upstairs. Cabal hit the foul out of play, and the count goes to 1-1. So the lights have not taken full effect yet. This is a huge baseball stadium. The seating capacity here would be almost as much as that in Philadelphia. They have a lot of area blocked out here that is not used for seating. If they were to put seats all the way around here, they would seat about 80,000. But it is the Olympic Stadium converted into a baseball park. 1-1 count. Heskett, the slow worker, winds and delivers. That one's in the dirt, and the count goes 2 balls and 1 strike. After Cabal will be Pedro Guerrero and then Mike Marshall. The Dodgers on the road trip have won 3. They have lost 3 and have 5 to go. Cabal hits a fly ball on the right side. Sliding out as the second baseman walks into the shallow right field and staggers as he makes the catch, falling away. So Cabal is out on a pop-up to Uriel Washington going into shallow right field for him. That brings on Pedro Guerrero, hitting .322. Pedro has been in just a little bit of a slump. So Pedro coming on, 29 home runs, 73 RBIs. He has hit an 8 of 11, but he has only 10 hits in his last 38 at-bats, and that figures to a .263 average, or about 60 points better than he's hitting overall. Pedro slumping just a little bit. The Dodgers all slumped last night. Pedro included, 1-0 for 4. Heskett now ready, and the pitch on the way. Fastball for strike, 0-1. First game of the 3-game series. The 2 Cubs are even on the year, and they were even all last year at 6-6. This year they're even at 3-3. Next pitch comes low. Count now 1-1. Guerrero backs out, and third umpire Eric Gregg puts a new ball in play. Guerrero waits. And the pitch on the way to Pete. High pop fly to center field. Waiting for it now is Winningham. Camps under it and makes the catch for the out. And Stade retired 1-2-3. So the Dodgers go down quietly in the first inning. And now the Expos come to bat. Score, Dodgers nothing, Montreal nothing.
Looking at the schedule in the American League tonight, Toronto is at Chicago for a doubleheader. Again, they're making up a rainout. In that ball game, latest we have on... The Blue Jays lead the White Sox 4-1. Toronto scoring 4 times in the top of the fourth. And now we understand Chicago has added a run in the fourth inning. So after 4, it is now Toronto 4 and Chicago 2. Harold Baines hit a home run, his 10th of the year in the fourth with nobody on. The home run by Baines in the fourth landed on the right field roof of Comiskey Park. Baines becomes only the second left-handed White Sox player to achieve that feat at ancient Comiskey Park. Other games in the American League, all single action: Milwaukee at Cleveland, Minnesota at Boston, Texas at Kansas City, Detroit at California, New York at Seattle, and Baltimore at Oakland. Standing-wise, in the Eastern of the American League, Toronto leads New York by 3.5. Detroit's the game in Montreal.
All of his guys are on the mound, warming up now, ready to go to the Montreal Expos. Have had a scoreless week, really. They've been shut out 3 times in the last 4 ball games. So tonight, manager Buck Rogers has shaken the lineup a little bit. He has benched Andre Dawson and Tim Wallach, 2 of his power hitters, and he has moved Warren to third base, and Francona goes into right field. They're looking for some singles now to try to get things together and get some runs. For Hershiser, this will make his 4th start since his last win, which was at Cincinnati on the 2nd of August. Meanwhile, the San Diego Padres are on a roll and having a good road trip. They've scored 6 times in New York in the first game of a doubleheader and lead now 6-1. They got 4 runs in the 6th inning, and they picked up 2 more on home runs by Garvey and Nettles in the 7th inning against Gorman. So Thurman and Stoddard are the pitchers for the Padres, trying to win their 4th consecutive on the road trip and put a little heat on the Dodgers, who opened tonight's activity 7 games in front of San Diego. And the first time the Dodgers have backed up a little bit was last night when they lost, and the Padres won here. There's a bouncer over the mound in the center field, a base hit, and Kenny Raines is on, who started off for Montreal here in the bottom of the first inning. Other scores in the first game of a doubleheader in the American League: Toronto 4 and Chicago 2. That's in the 6th inning. St. Louis, Atlanta, Chicago, Cincinnati are the other National League scores that we'll keep up with. San Francisco playing in Philadelphia also. So Kenny Raines, one of the game's best base stealers, is on first now as he opens up with a bouncing single to center field. Raines came into the game hitting .304 in the top 10 in the league. So Raines is on, and it's up to go. Here's the pitch on the way, taken by Vance Law, down a little low, 1 ball and no strike. Raines is the all-time leader in stolen base percentage, .866. He's been thrown out by just 3 catchers this year, a total of 6 times. For the first, and he gets back. In the game at Philadelphia last night, Scotia made about as good a throws as he could make. Twice last night, and nailed 2 Philly base runners trying to steal on him. Now again a throw to first base, and again Raines gets back on the bag standing up. Raines has been busy lately. He's been on base 66 times in the last 33 games. Now the pitch on the way, that's inside the ball, and the count goes 2 balls and no strikes. So Oral Hershiser gives up a base hit to Raines, and now goes 2-0 to Law with Francona and Brooks to follow. Raines has stolen second base 39 times out of 40 attempts this year. Doesn't go. Ground ball to Cabell, knocks it down, goes to second, still in time to get the run, and Cabell had to battle that one. A hard smash to him as he's playing up close to third base, and Enos stretched out, knocked that ball down, and made his play to second base to take Raines off the base. Had he been able to stay on his feet, might have turned that into a double play. But he was lucky, really, to make the good stop that he did and get the out at second. as he was sprawling on the ground, he managed to get his throw off the sack. Here's Terry Francona coming up now. Francona getting a chance to play and getting a chance to play a lot now that Dan Greason has been traded away. Francona plays first base and in the outfield, but he's going to play right field tonight with Andre Dawson sitting it out. Since July the 31st in 19 games, Francona's been hitting over 300. All right, here's Stade up with the arms, the pitch on the way, and it's in there for strike 0-1. There's Greg, one of the umpires, who gives us a full call, so we'll just wait for Eric. 0-1 count. One out, one on, no score, just underway in Montreal, the first of three. Here's Anderson looking, the pitch on the way, it's foul out of play. Right into the seats behind the Dodger dugout where a contingent of Dodger wives is seated. Quite a few of the ladies have made the trip on this eastern swing. 0-2 count to Francona. There's sitting on the bench for a long time, waiting for a chance to play, and now looks like he's going to get his opportunity. A 0-2 count. Law off first base. And here's the pitch to Francona. Bounced out the sack. He will have to go to first base with his play in time, and made a good play on an astroturf hopper to throw out Francona as Law takes second. And Hubie Brooks will come on now. Hubie Brooks has been a hot hitter, but he has cooled off of late. Brooks has one hit in his last 22 at-bats in 16. And he had been hitting 406 up until that time. So all of a sudden, Hubie finds it cool. Even though he's hit safely in 13 of his last 18 games, he's had a little downer right now. Batting in the cleanup spot. Rare for a shortstop to bat fourth, but Hubie's batted there before. Brooks waiting, runner off second base, pitch on the way. Curve in there for a strike that is nothing in one. For Earl Hershiser, he's trying to get off that MD, no decision kick. Cincinnati, Atlanta, and it's San Francisco, his last three outings. He's given up a total of 3 earned runs and has nothing to show for it. Here's the pitch on the way. Check in there for a strike. And for Hubie Brooks, it is 0-2. Hershiser's last win at Cincinnati on August the 2nd, and he won his time before that against Chicago at home. He has not had a complete game in his last 5 outings. He hasn't given up many runs. A total of 6 earned runs in his last 5 games. There's a fly ball hitting the right field and hit deep. Going into the corner, Mike Marsh, a long way to go, and he can't get it. It's off the board. The run will score. Hubie Brooks is in the second base with a stand-up double. So Brooks, a long fly ball to deep right field, down in the corner, and it bounced up against the fence. Easy for Law to score, and Brooks jogs into second base, and the Expos are on the board 1-0. So Hubie Brooks gets his 70th RBI of the year. And here now is Scott Thompson playing first base. Scott came over from San Francisco in the trade that involved Dan Greason and Bill Lasky. Lasky coming along with Thompson for Greason to the San Francisco Giants. Thompson waits. The pitch on the way. Low and inside ball. 1-0 the count. Thompson has played in 11 games with Montreal and has 6 hits in 9 at-bats. But he has started off well with his new team, Scott Thompson. He's been a utility man most of his career, formerly with the Cubs. Now the pitch swung on him, missed, and it's 1-1. So Hershiser yields a run, a leadoff single to Raines, replaced by Law after a force out, and a wrong field double by Brooks into the right field corner. 1-1 the count. Here again is Hershiser with a lift, times and coaches, a pitch to the left-hand hitter, down to the third. Cabell will make the play. The throw crosses in time, and the side is retired. But the Expos show 1 run, 2 hits, 1 man left, and the score at the end of 1 inning, 1-0, Montreal.
Okay, as promised, let's look at the American League probables for tonight, including the Toronto-Chicago doubleheader. First game, young Tom Filer, 6-0 for the Blue Jays. And for the Chicago White Sox, Brett Burns with a record of 13-7. Second game is expected to be Ron Musselman, 3-0 for the Jays, against the Sox, Steve Nelson, 7-7. In the single action tonight in the American League, Milwaukee at Cleveland, Jimmy Pinconino in a 3-2, and for the Indians, it'll be Kurt Wardle, 4-5. Minnesota at Boston, Frank Viola, 12-10 for the Twins, against the Red Sox, Tim Lawler, 5-7. Texas at Kansas City, Dave Stewart, 0-4 for the Rangers, against Mark Gubazar, 9-7 for the Royals. Detroit at California, Dan Petrie, 13-11 for the Tigers, against the Angels, Ron Romanek, 13-6. New York Yankees at Seattle, Phil Niekro, 11-9 for the Yankees. Mariners, Bill Swift, 14-6. Baltimore at Oakland, it'll be Mike Boddicker against Jose Rizzo for the Oakland A's. Okay, let's check the scoreboard before we go to the top of the second at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. San Diego and New York, the Padres in the first of a doubleheader. They added 2 more runs at the top of the seventh. They now lead the New York Mets by a score of 2-0. They scored 4 in the sixth, and the 4 San Diego runs in the sixth inning were a result of 5 consecutive 2-out hits.
Now the Dodgers come on in the second inning, facing Joe Hesketh, the left-hander. This is the first time they've ever seen Hesketh in a regular game. They saw him a little bit in spring training down in Florida. So this is the first official appearance of Hesketh against the Dodgers in his career. Mike Marshall at bat now. Mike has a 7-game hitting streak, 11 hits and 30 trips to the plate. Marshall against Montreal this year, not much. 2 hits and 20 at bats. Although he has 2 career home runs against Montreal. And he takes one down low, 1 ball and no strikes. Hesketh, left-hander with good control, doesn't really dazzle you with a fastball, blazing speed, but he gets the ball over and he throws a lot of strikes. Now into the windup and the pitch from the left-hander, off speed and it's swung on. 1-1 to Marshall, with Bronk on deck and Maldonado to follow. The Dodgers, of course, 2 nights ago in Philadelphia, bombed Philadelphia pitching for 22 hits and 15 runs, and then were blanked last night, and they've now gone 11 scoreless innings. Marshall swings, grounds a foul behind the plate, and the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. In that 15-6 win against Philadelphia, the Dodgers scored in every inning but the 3rd, 6th, and 9th. And last night they got nothing except 4 scattered hits against Shane Raleigh. Now the 1-2 look. Here's the windup and down it comes. Marshall swings and misses, striking out. The Hesketh with a running fastball strikes out Marshall. That's the 2nd strikeout by the Montreal left-hander. And here is Brock coming on. Hesketh, by the way, leads all Major League rookie pitchers in strikeouts with 112. And he ranks 6th in the National League in earned run average at 2.5. So he's a pretty good pitcher, young Joe Hesketh. Brock takes it in there for a strike at the knees, and it is 0-1 to Brock. Brock and Socia play tonight against the left-handers. 0-1 count to Brock. He's hitting .318 this year against Montreal. Swings at a breaking ball, strike 2. Brock has been in a bit of a slump. His average has drifted downward to 256 now. 16 home runs and 48 runs batted in. Hesketh ready, the 0-2 pitch. Sal Buterra is the catcher. Passing out the signs, and here's the pitch on the way to Brock. Struck him out swinging, fastball. Appeared to be on the inside part of the plate. So Hesketh now has struck out 3 of the first 5 batters that he pitched to. And here's Sandy Maldonado hitting .208. Sandy with 5 homers and 11 runs batted in, and had a memorable 5-hit game in Philadelphia. Seemed like everything the Phillies swept that night, the Dodgers hit someplace. Maldonado batting in the number 6 spot and playing center field. Hesketh ready, delivers. Sandy hits one back to the middle behind second base. Brooks on the run, makes a good play to get him in the side. So Dodgers out 1-2-3 as Billy Brooks slices near the bag at second base to make the play on Maldonado. The score going to the bottom of the second. Expos 1 and the Dodgers nothing.
Make a correction on the probables in the Milwaukee-Cleveland game. We have a correction now on the wire. Jaime Kokenauer is going for the Brewers, 3-2, and for the Indians, as we mentioned, it'll be Kurt Wardle, 4-5. In case you missed the scores of the Major League games played on Thursday in the American League, Boston beat Texas 8-4, Kansas City over Chicago 7-3, Angels 3, Yankees 2. Yankees take 2 of 3 from the Angels of the Big A. Seattle defeated Baltimore 4-0, and in 13 innings, it was Detroit 5 and Oakland 3. In the National League, on Thursday, San Diego blanked Montreal 3-0. New York Mets over San Francisco 7-0. That was shutout. Phillies 2 and the Dodgers 0. Pittsburgh defeated Cincinnati 5-1. Chicago Cubs 3, Atlanta Braves 2, and St. Louis defeated Houston 2-1. The Dodgers lost to the Phillies as Sean Raleigh threw a 4-hit shutout and double home run as the Phillies beat the Dodgers 2-0. In the other ball game involving our game tonight at Montreal, Andy Hawkins limited Montreal to just 4 hits as the Padres swept their 3-game series from the Expos with a 3-0 victory. It was the second shutout of the season for Hawkins, who walked 2 and struck out 4, improving his record to 16-4. The right-hander did get off to a shaky start, loading the bases in the first inning before pitching out of trouble. Before we go to the home second, Montreal coming up. We'll pause now for station identification. This is the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Center fielder Herm Winningham will come on. Rookie outfielder hitting .255 on the year with 3 homers and 19 runs batted in. And the windup and the pitch on the way, a breaking ball that swung on and missed strike 1. Winningham came, of course, from New York in the deal involving Gary Sider. He was one of the 4 players. Breaking ball is in there again, strike 2, and it's 0-2 to Winningham. U.L. Washington on deck, and Sal Butera, the catcher, to follow. Time called now as Winningham takes a little walk outside the batter's box. Montreal a run in the first inning, driven on a double by Hubie Brooks into the right field corner. Here's Hershiser's pitch. Curve inside the ball, and the count is 1-2. Winningham started to offer, staggered into the ball, and then stopped. 1 ball and 2 strikes. San Diego winning the first game of a doubleheader. They're on a roll now. The Padres trying to come back at the Dodgers. Now the 1-2 pitch. Line drive, back at second base to the center field, a base hit. That appeared to go right by Hershiser's glove. So again, Orr gets a 2-strike count on a hitter and loses him. As that ball went right back through the middle by Winningham, and here's U.L. Washington playing second base. U.L. is hitting .266. 1 homer and 17 RBIs. He came over from Kansas City. U.L. Washington, batting from the left side. He's a switch hitter. As a left-hand hitter, batting .307. Much better than the right side, where he's hitting only .208. And Washington doing a good job in the field. We haven't seen Montreal in a while. The Dodgers making their final swing through the east. It's a bunt side foul back, strike 1, and the Eastern clubs will make their final swing into Dodger Stadium beginning next Thursday when Philadelphia drops by to open up a 4-game series. Then Montreal is in, followed by the New York Mets. And then the Dodgers will go strictly head-to-head against the Western Division, but only 4 games left on the year against San Diego, 2-2. UL waiting, and the pitch is outside the ball. Cabell laying in case the bunt is on. UL bunted the first pitch foul. So Hershiser now has been roughed up for 3 hits and a run. Well, working again. Winningham away from first in the throw, but then he has to come back in head first. Winningham as a base runner has stolen 18 times. He's been caught 7. Well, he runs a little bit. Expos have stolen 122, but 48 of those go to Tim Raines. Again, the stretch and the look. There he goes. Pitch out. Close to throw to second base is going to be waiting for him. So Winningham is cut down as coach has called a pitch out and made a perfect take down to second. So that erases Winningham. And here now is Washington with a 2-ball and 1 strike count. The Dodgers figured they might have something going. And Scioscia or somebody, a lot of times, the bench gives the catcher help calling for the pitch out. Joe Malpatano, usually the guy who's hollering out there for the pitch out. We've got a sign, of course, for that, a vocal sign. There's a bunt wide of first base. Brock will play it, and the Hershiser not in time. Washington beats out a bunt. He bunted to Brock sharply, but Hershiser got a late start, and Washington, who runs well, is able to beat it out. So that's the 4th hit for Montreal. And it brings on Sal Butera, the catcher. Butera hitting .224. He's getting a chance to play because Mike Fitzgerald, the regular catcher, is hurt. And we're not sure when Mike's going to get back. Pitcher on deck. Hershiser working, and the pitch on the way. Check swing. It's in there for a strike. 0-1. 0-1 to Sal Butera. One strike count. And the pitch to Sal taken low for a ball. That runs the count to 1 ball and 1 strike. Butera was a non-roster player. He's 32 years old. He's been around the baseball wars, mostly in the minor leagues. Although he did spend 3 years with Minnesota. Last year at Indianapolis and then back up to Montreal for a couple of games. There's a foul on the ground behind the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Butera. He was an invitee to the Expos spring training camp. He was a non-roster player. And actually hasn't seen too much action this year. Butera has played in only 36 games. One out, one on, and a 1-2 count to the hitters. And there's a fly ball to left field, and Pedro will have the play on this one. Angling over a little bit to make the catch. So we have 2 down with Joe Hesketh, the pitcher, coming up. Hesketh with a 1-run lead. Hesketh is hitting .091. He has 4 hits in 44 at-bats and 1 RBI. So Hershiser trying to work on his pitching opponent last night. Shane Raleigh with about the same kind of a batting average. Had 2 hits against Jerry Royce, and he drove in a big run, the second run of the game, with a double in the 4th inning. Here's the pitch to Hesketh, and that's in there for strike 0-1. We're in the 2nd inning, and we have a 1-0 score. Montreal leading. 0-1 count. Pitch. Missed the outside corner with a fastball, and it's 1-1. Hershiser's given up 4 hits. The Dodgers have had nothing so far. 6 up and 6 down. Now the pitch on the way. Hesketh takes the breaking ball for strike 1-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The Expos trying to snap a 4-game losing streak, and the Dodgers trying to keep them going under the 500 mark on the road trip. They've won 3, lost 3. The trip began in San Francisco, you'll recall, and the Giants beat them 2 out of 3. Now the pitch, and that's a little low with a breaking ball, 2-2. So he's had to make 4 pitches now to Hesketh, and number 5 coming up. Two count. And the pitch. Way high, ball 3. 3-2. Well, Royce last night had the same situation with Raleigh. Trying to pitch carefully to his pitching opponent instead of just blowing him out of there. And he wound up with 2 hits. And now Hershiser has Raines on deck with 2 outs. And a 3-2 count to the hitter. Here's the pitch. There he goes, and it's ball 4. Boy, you never know, do you? Why a pitcher will walk a pitcher. So that's the first walk given up by Hershiser, and brings to bat Tim Raines. And for Hershiser, In his last game, he didn't walk anybody in 7 of the 3rd inning. So now he gives up a walk to pitcher Joe Hester. Range at bat, single to center his first time up. All on the road this year is 4-3. At home, he is a perfect 8-0. But he's had 3 consecutive no decisions, and as I say, in those 3 games, he's worked 7 in the 3rd inning, 7 innings, and 6 in the 3rd, and allowed just 3 earned runs. And in 1 game, he allowed no earned runs. Range at bat, hitting left-handed. Him, 304 average. And the pitch to him. Curveball down low, 1 ball and no strikes. For Hershiser, his first appearance of the year against the Expos. No record against them. This last year he was 0-2. That's his lifetime was. 1 ball and no strikes. 2 on and 2 out in the pitch to range. Way high, ball 2, and he's lost his rhythm. The Socia calls time and will trot out there to talk to him. A 2-0 count. Socia and Hershiser getting their heads together at the top of the pitching mound. Okay. Socia back behind the plate. And Hershiser working the range here in the 2nd inning. He walked the pitcher to continue the inning. There have been 2 hits in the walk, but a runner caught stealing. Now the 2-0 look in the pitch. And it's driven into center field. Maldonado makes a dive at it. The ball bounces off his glove. 1 runner's in. Hesketh is around 3rd, headed home. The throw to the plate is going to be not in time. Maybe. It might be because Hesketh went over and Socia didn't touch the plate and is on the ground and he's hurt. He tried to hurdle Socia. He missed home plate and then fell to the ground. He hurt his leg coming in. So Hesketh is thrown out at the plate because he went over the catcher, Socia, who had the plate blocked, and Hesketh hurt his leg. Socia caught the ball, went over and tagged him out. And Raines hits a line drive to center field, and Hesketh is on the ground and he's in pain. He hurt his leg, and we can't say for sure which one yet. He rolls over on the ground, and he's hurt. All of his teammates gathered around, along with Mike Socia, who was there with a legitimate block on the plate. He had to stay at home plate to take the throw from right fielder Mike Marshall. The ball bouncing away from Maldonado, who tried to short hop it, and Marshall picked it up and made a good, strong throw to the plate, and Hesketh was there and beat the throw, but he didn't touch home plate. He hurdled left leg going over, caught the equipment of Mike Socia. Socia's being bruised, and that's uncalled for. He did what he had to do. He stayed there at the plate, and Hesketh came in there and bounced over him. We're not sure exactly which leg. He's still lying on the ground on his back. Socia had gone over to tag him out. Well, we'll find out about Hesketh in a moment. The score at the end of 2 innings, Montreal 2 and the Dodgers nothing.
Well, we have a break in the action of our ball game in Montreal, looking at the leading individual departments in baseball, looking at the National League in batting. Willie McGee at St. Louis, he's led most of the way. He is still leading. In fact, right now, he's pulled 38 points ahead of his teammate, Tommy Herr. McGee is 361, Herr is 323. Pedro Guerrero of the Dodgers is next at 322, followed by Backman of the Mets, 306, and Gwynn of San Diego also at 306. Our RBI department, Dale Murphy of Atlanta, 89. Parker of Cincinnati, 86. And Clark of St. Louis, 84. By the way, Cardinals first baseman Jack Clark left the game tonight in the 1st inning after pulling a muscle in his rib cage while batting. McGee leads in hits with 155. Gwynn of San Diego, 144. And Herr of St. Louis, 140. Home runs, Murphy of Atlanta, 33. Guerrero of the Dodgers, 29. And Parker of Cincinnati, 23. Stolen bases, Coleman of St. Louis is 83. Raines of Montreal, 48. And Lopes of Chicago, 42, tied with McGee of St. Louis. Pitching, based on at least 10 decisions, Franco of Cincinnati with a record of 10-1. His winning percentage is .909, and he has an ERA of 1.78. Bob Welch of St. Louis, 9-1, a 900% winning, ERA 1.94. student of New York with the most victories in the majors. He's 19-3, winning percentage of .864. His ERA a fantastic 1.74.
Well, for pitcher Joe Hesketh, a very tough break. He tried to score on that play, and Mike Scotia was called at home plate. Hesketh tried to hurdle over Scotia and apparently came down hard on his right knee. And he had to go off on a stretcher. So they had to carry Hesketh off, and the young left-hander has a tough break there. But Scotia was in a legitimate position to block the plate. He had the throw coming right to him from one direction, and the runner coming from the other direction, and Hesketh tried to hurdle him, but he couldn't do it, and he hurt his right knee apparently, and he was writhing in pain, and now has to leave the ball game. We're going to have a new pitcher coming on for Montreal, and it'll be St. Clair. St. Clair will come on. Randy St. Clair will be in to relieve Joe Hesketh. A tough break for Hesketh as he's injured on the play. Fans booing Scotia, of course, but it was a legitimate clean play. Mike was holding his ground, and the runner tried to hurdle over him and crashed into Scotia and hurt his knee. So St. Clair will come on to work in the third inning, and wouldn't you know, the first batter due up will be Mike Scotia. St. Clair is replacing an injured player, so he will have as many warm-ups as he needs. His record is 4-2 on the year, with an earned run average of .266, making his 31st appearance. He has worked 50 2/3 innings, 4 wins, 2 losses, and no saves. So St. Clair coming on to replace Joe Hesketh. Well, we're going to have some time because Hesketh is out and St. Clair gets all the time that he needs. They're in the bottom of the ninth inning in New York, and it's San Diego 6, New York 1 in the first game of a doubleheader. Gorman replaced by Fisk in that ball game. Garvey and Nettles have had home runs for the Padres. Chicago leads Cincinnati 2-0. That game is now in the second inning. And St. Louis, Atlanta, no score there in the second inning. San Francisco, Philadelphia, no report yet from down south. Houston, Pittsburgh, no score at the end of 2. Ryan against Tunnel. Sid Fernandez started for New York. And to San Diego, Thurman. There's Thurman and Aguilera, actually the starters. Jackson and Fernandez have relieved. Stoddard and Gorman were also in there. So the Padres pick up 4 runs in the 6th inning and 2 more in the 7th inning and lead the Mets in the first game of a doubleheader. So the Dodgers, in danger of losing a little more ground, if they can shape up here in Montreal. And the Expos get a tough break as they lose their fine young pitcher, Joe Hesketh, on a collision play at home plate. And Randy St. Clair is still out there tuning up. Scotia, of course, had to hold his ground there because there was a player right at the plate. He was covering the plate completely, and Hesketh tried to kind of do a somersault roll over him. And as he did that, he had his knee apparently either struck Scotia coming over, or he landed heavily on his knee when he went into a somersault and a flip-flop on the other side of Scotia in foul territory. He never did touch the plate. So Scotia picked up the ball, went over and tagged him out. Here's Scotia bat now as we go to the third. And Randy St. Clair ready to go to work. And the first pitch to Mike is a fastball in there for strike 0-1. Scotia has hit safely in 7 out of 8. And his batting average is .282. Mike has had quite a season. Now the pitch on the way. A little low for ball, and the count is 1-1. Randy St. Clair, 4 wins, 2 losses. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Inside the ball, and the count is 2-1. So the Dodgers, who had their lineup set for a left-hand pitcher, now see a right-hander. St. Clair, one of the long men in the bullpen, delivers 2-1, and Scotia takes another strike, 2-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. We're in the top of the third, and the Montreal Expos lead now 2-0. Raines singled in a run. There's a broken back ground ball near second base. Washington picks it up and throws to first, and Sosa is out. 7 Dodgers in a row have been retired. That'll bring on Steve Sachs, who is hitting .268 with 1 home run and 26 RBIs. A few boos for Sosa, but not a whole lot. I think most of the knowledgeable baseball fans will understand that it was a collision play, and no one at fault in that one. Okay, Sachs at bat. The Dodgers now running up a string of scoreless innings after that big batting fest they had in Philadelphia on Wednesday night. There's a breaking pitch for a strike to Sachs. Hershiser is on deck. Sachs waiting, 0-1. And the pitch on the way to him. A high chopper to shortstop. Hubie Brooks touches it knee high, guns his throw, 2 down. So 2 up and 2 down. And isn't it ironic that after the Dodgers had that big night with the bat, they have completely cooled off. They had 6 hits. Second, they had 5 hits twice in that ball game in 1 inning, and a total of 42. And last night they picked up only 4. And tonight, so far, nothing. Hershiser takes inside, ball 1. 1-0 to count to all. Not a bad hitter. Average of 173 with 9 hits. He likes to bunt. Runs pretty well. The pitch on the way. Taken low. 2 balls and no strikes to Hershiser with Duncan on deck. And Montreal leading 2-0. And tomorrow night, the Dodgers get a look at the best pitcher on the Montreal staff, Bryn Smith. Bryn's record is 14-4 with an earned run average of 2.6. A strike to Hershiser makes it a 2-1 count. And the pitch from St. Clair is hit to third. Up with it is Law. Over to first. 9 in a row retired. Dodgers go out. 1, 2, 3, and the score going to the bottom of the third inning. Montreal 2 and the Dodgers nothing. Oh, we got a clarification on Hesketh now. He's going to be taken to the hospital for precautionary x-rays on his left shin. So as he was lying on the ground, it was hard to tell exactly where the injury was, and from the replays, hard to tell. And the consensus on Radio Row was that he hurt his right knee. That consensus now is not founded because it is his left shin. So he'll have to have precautionary x-rays. We'll wait for a report on that. Here's Vance Law to start it off now in the bottom of the third against Hershiser, who has given up 2 runs and 5 hits. Delivers a curveball for a strike, and the count is 0-1. Law, Francona, and Brooks now going against Hershiser here in the third inning. There's a bounce to the third near the line. It'll be a foul ball. So Law bounces one down to Cabell, and he'll have to turn around and come back to do it again. 1 run, 2 hits in the first inning, 1 run and 3 hits in the second. And Hesketh, who drew the walk, set up the inning, and then he had to leave the game, and he hurt in the collision of home plate. 0-2 the count to Law. Hershiser's trying to get into the groove now here. Down by 2 runs, and the Dodgers trying to get into a hitting groove, and they've done nothing tonight, or last night. Okay, all ready to go to the right-hand batter, Vance Law. Here's the look, and the pitch on the way, outside and low for a ball. With Law and Francona hitting back-to-back in the order, it's rather unusual that these 2 would be in there. Sons of former Major League players hitting back-to-back. Swing and a miss, and Law goes down on strike. Vance Law's dad was a pitcher with the Pirates, Vernon Law. Terry Francona's dad was a hitter in the American League, basically, Tito Francona. First strikeout for Hershiser, and here's Terry Francona playing right field in tonight's game. Terry, left-hand hitter. Once again, all ready to go. High foul off the third base side. That'll carry back into the seats behind the Dodger dugout. And the dugouts here are huge. You could see 2 or 3 teams in the dugout side by side. But they use one end for the photographers and another end for TV cameras. So they kind of divide them up. Now the 1-1 pitch. Curve is outside, ball 2-1 to Francona with 1 away in the 3rd inning. Hershiser trying to get off number 12. He's been hung there for his last 3 outings. The pitch, a ground ball to Brock. Big hop at the dirt. He'll carry it to the bag for the 2nd out. 2 away as Francona bounces out. And here's Hubie Brooks, who had a long field double into the right field corner, a long high fly ball. Hubie's hit 10 home runs and has 69 runs batted in. Another former Met who came in the deal for Gary Carter. Hubie played third base most of the time for New York, but he's been installed as the shortstop here, and he's played okay. Although he had slumped a little bit, 1 for 22, he opened up this game with a base hit. Takes the curveball too low, 1 ball and no strike. Hubie, of course, from the Southern California area. A lot of family and friends out there. Now the 1-0 pitch. And that was hit foul. Third baseway to the far end of that long dugout. 1 ball, 1 strike to Brooks. Rick Rennick is the third base coach for Montreal. Ron Hansen on the first base side. Buck Rogers running the team from the bench. Russ Nixon, his first lieutenant, seated alongside. Breaking ball, low ball, good, it's 2-1. Hershiser, of course, depends primarily on his sinker. He gets a lot of ground balls. 2-1 the count. And the pitch. Popped up near the mound. Coming in a sack. Under it now. And puts it away. The side retires. So for the first time tonight, the Expos go out in order. And the score with Ross coming along in the 4th inning at the end of 3. Montreal 2 and the Dodgers nothing.
Now an update from ABC News. I'm Chet Martin. The final 2 winners of Wednesday night's $41 million lottery jackpot in New York State came forward today. One is a 36-year-old computer consultant and bachelor from Brooklyn. The other, a mother of 3 and part-time bartender who lives in Troy. Each will receive $13.6 million over the next 20 years. The first launch of an MX missile from an underground silo was pronounced a success today by officials at California's Vandenberg Air Force Base. The unarmed missile was fired last night, 4,700 miles into the Pacific. Union Carbide today admitted it was a combination of human and mechanical failure that led to the leak 12 days ago of toxic chemicals from its Institute, West Virginia plant. The company pledged $50 million to control such emissions. Financier Carl Icahn announced in New York today, after the markets had closed, that he and his affiliates now hold 50.3% of the outstanding shares of TWA. This apparently makes Icahn the winner in his battle to control the airline. I'm Chet Martin, ABC News.
Let's check the baseball scoreboard. One game is over. That first game of a doubleheader at Shea Stadium in New York is history. San Diego has defeated the Mets by a score of 6-1. That puts the Cardinals, who are still playing, they're in a single game, into a first-place tie. So right now, as of the moment, New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals were tied for first again in the National League East. The totals in the first game, San Diego 6 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. For the Mets, 1 run, 6 hits, and no miscues. We'll have the summary in a few moments. Elsewhere, after 2, no score between Houston and Pittsburgh. And we understand that Pete Rose has reached first base on a bunt single in the bottom of the 3rd inning, and is now just 12 hits shy of Ty Cobb's all-time hit record. In that ball game, it is 2-2, bottom of the 3rd. The Reds are still batting. 2 men on base and 1 out. In the American League after 3, it's all tied. Minnesota won and Boston won.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Montreal. We're going to the 4th, 2-0 Expos. Mariano Duncan leads off for the Dodgers, takes inside for a ball. Randy St. Clair's next one is in there, knee-high for a strike, 1-1. The Dodgers do not yet have a base runner tonight against Joe Hexteth and Randy St. Clair. Duncan struck out swinging to open the game. The next pitch, way got a miss by Mariano, 1-2. when Duncan struck out to open the ballgame. It marked the 82nd time this year that he had struck out. Only Mike Marshall has fanned more. He struck out 95 times. The next pitch, low, 2-2. What a shame to see Joe Hesketh writhing in pain after his home plate collision with Mike Scioscia in the second inning. Hesketh has gone to the hospital for precautionary x-rays and had left shin injured in the collision. Duncan takes low, ball 3, 3-2. Randy Sinclair celebrating his 25th birthday today with a chance to win this one. The payoff pitch to Duncan is a ground ball to first. Fielded by Scott Thompson, and he beats Duncan to the bag. 1 out. 10 in a row retired for the two Montreal pitchers. Here's Enos Cabell. Enos returning to the lineup tonight after missing the last 8 games because of that sore rib cage. San Diego beat New York in the first of the doubleheader tonight at Shea Stadium 6-1. So at this moment, the Dodgers' lead over the Padres has been sliced to 6.5 games in the National League West. One more to go in New York. Sid Fernandez against Roy Lee Jackson. Cabell takes low for a ball. Cabell comes in with a 6-game hitting streak. Mike Marshall is safely in 7 in a row. The right-hander's pitch is a ground ball to third. Glove by Van Flaw, and he throws out Cabell. The Dodgers, who were shut out by Shane Raleigh in Philadelphia last night on only 4 hits, have only gotten 1 ball out of the infield this evening. Pedro Guerrero, who's coming up now, hoisted one to center field to Herm Whittingham for the final out of the first inning. Hesketh struck out 3 in his 2 innings. Sinclair has come in. In the 5-minute space, he's induced a ground out. There's one banged up the middle, backhanded by second baseman U.L. Washington, who throws and gets it. Good play by the one-time Kansas City Royal. Washington takes a base hit away from Guerrero. 12 in a row, cut down by Montreal pitchers Hesketh and Sinclair at the outset. We go along to the bottom of the 4th. Expos 2, Dodgers nothing.
Well, if you're worried about Orkan Boyd, like our engineer is worried about him right now, he's back. He's back with the Boston Red Sox. Dennis Orkan Boyd has returned to Fenway Park. 25-year-old right-hander ended his self-imposed exile today. That began after Wednesday evening's shouting match with teammate Jim Rice. After a 5-3 loss to Texas, Boyd walked around the locker room, muttering he wasn't getting enough support from his teammates. Rice took exception to that, and the two got into a heated exchange that twice had to be broken up by manager John McNamara, players, and coaches. Finally, a security guard escorted Boyd to his car. He was fined 2 days' compensation for his absence, amounting to more than $1,500. Well, Can's all tuned up, ready to go now. He's hitting on all 8 cylinders, ready to be pitching again for the Red Sox very shortly. Pair of unbeaten right-handed pitchers will oppose each other Saturday afternoon when Seoul, South Korea plays Mexicali, Mexico in the championship game of the 39th Little League Baseball World Series. First time ever that the USA team will not be in the championship. Mexicali is 18-1 on the year. It's won its last 14 games. Ricardo Point, 9-0, will be pitching for Mexicali. For Seoul, it'll be Yu Young-jung, whose mark is 4-0. Let's pause right now for station identification. This is the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Bottom of the 4th inning, Montreal 2, the Dodgers nothing. Scott Thompson takes one inside from Walt Hershiser, ball 1. Thompson grounded to third his first time up. Breaking ball is bang foul down the right field side. 1 ball, 1 strike. Thompson came to Montreal along with pitcher Bill Lasky in the deal with the Giants for Dan Drayson August 1st.
And when he's played for the Expos, Thompson has 6 hits and 10 at-bats. The Expos, even though they're slumping, have been shut out 3 times in the last 4 days, are resting Andre Dawson and Tim Wallach tonight. There's a soft line drive to Mariano Duncan for the first out in the bottom of the 4th inning. Herm Winningham singled to open the 2nd inning, tried to steal 2nd, and Mike Socha threw him out. New cast of characters in Montreal this year. On opening day of the 25 players in an Expo uniform, 12 had not been with the team a year ago. And he's got a new manager, Buck Rogers, and new coaches. Winningham runs up the bunt, takes low, ball 1. Oral Hershiser has had 3 consecutive no decisions and hasn't had a victory in 3 weeks. Delivers off speed and is swung on a miss by Winningham, 1-1. Hershiser has 10 no decisions. No other Dodger starter has more than 5. Royce has 5. Welch has 4. Valenzuela and Honeycutt just 3 each. That's good business, 2-1 to Winningham. But in 40% of all Hershiser's starts this year, he's come away with nothing. No victory, no defeat. 10 of the 25. 2-1 pitch. High and away to Winningham. 3-1. Hershiser is unbeaten at Dodger Stadium this year, where he's 8-0. He's 4-3 on the road. Hershiser, 4th in the league, an earned run average of 2.28. Trailing only Dwight Gooden, John Tudor, and Dave Drevecki. 3-1 pitch. Line drive to Brock. He stabs it. The Thompson had a soft liner to Duncan, and Winningham rocked that one. And Brock reaching to his right, made the play. Leo Washington bunted for a single in the 2nd inning. On the bunt between the mound and first base, Brock committed himself and went for the ball. And when he did, there was nobody to cover first. So even though Brock got the ball, Washington easily beat Hershiser to the bag. And UL eventually scored after a 2-out walk to Heston when Raines doubled off of Candy Maldonado's glove as Candy sailed through the air in right center and tried to make a dazzling catch. There's a fly ball to left. Guerrero's going to get it. And the inning's over. So Hershiser has retired 6 in a row. But at the end of 4, it's the Expos 2 and the Dodgers nothing.
We now have details of that first of a doubleheader at Shea Stadium. Gary Templeton drove in 2 runs, and Steve Garvey and Craig Nettles smashed back-to-back home runs Friday night, powering the San Diego Padres to a 6-1 victory over the New York Mets. Mark Furman, whose record now is 5-7, lasted 5 in the 3rd inning, yielding 4 hits and 1 run. The left-hander walked 3 and struck out 1. Tim Stade relieved and pitched well until loading the bases in the 9th inning. Craig Leffert came on, put out the fire to get 2 outs for his 2nd save of the year. Padres scored 4 times in the 6th inning after 2 were out, with the Mets leading 1-0. Rick Aguilera, 6-5 on the year, allowed 5 consecutive singles, with Tim Flannery and Thurman driving in a run apiece. Templeton adding a 2-run single to center for a 4-1 lead. In the 7th, Garvey slammed his 18th home run, and Nettles followed with his 14th. Padres are now just 6.5 behind the Dodgers in the National League West. Also, they win that 2nd game, and the Expos hold on to win their single game against the Dodgers tonight. The Padres would then just be 5.5 games behind the Dodgers in the Western Division. So they're looking at the scoreboard a little bit. Some of the players will tell you that they don't look at the scoreboard, but they take a peek every so often, especially when you're leading and you're a little worried about who's coming up behind you. Like old Satchel Paige used to say, never look behind you. That's one of his secrets of longevity in the majors. He never looked over his shoulder. Somebody may be sneaking up on him.
There are 4 inning totals at Olympic Stadium tonight. The Expos 2 runs, 5 hits, and no errors. The Dodgers no runs, no hits, and no errors. Starter Joe Heston, who had to leave after 2 innings, injuring his left shin in a home plate collision with Dodger catcher Mike Socha, retired the first 6 Los Angeles batters, and now reliever Randy Sinclair has gotten the last 6.
Mike Marshall, who struck out swinging in the second inning, leads it off. He's only 2 for 21 against Expos pitching this year, and St. Clair starts him with a breaking ball that bends in for a strike. Marshall has had the feeling the last 2 years that the Montreal pitchers throw at him. St. Clair kicks and deals, and Marshall hits a fly ball in the shallow right field. Terry Francona loses his cap, but makes the catch. So 13 successive Dodger batters have been retired. You might remember Jeff Reardon being Marshall 2 years ago. Later, Brent Smith hit Mike with a pitch, and that started the breaking. Greg Brock struck out 2 in the second inning. Brock hitting .318 against Montreal pitching this year. St. Clair's first one is an off-speed pitch swung on a miss. Randy was born in the same town as David Palmer of the Expos, who's on the disabled list, and Dave LaPointe of the Giants. Glens Falls, New York. There's a foul straight back, 0-2 to Brock. Greg may have had his finest game in the National League in this ballpark a couple of years ago. He had 2 home runs one night, won a grand slam off Bill Dellington, and collected 6 RBIs. Jimmy Brooks. Double home run in the Montreal first. Tim Raines double home another off All Hershiser in the second. Now we're in the 5th. The Padres won the first game of the doubleheader from the Mets tonight in New York, 6-1. Randy St. Clair's fastball is down to the left side. Backhanded by Brooks from deep short. Throws on a bounce. Too late. There's the first runner of the game for the Dodgers. Jimmy Brooks made a wonderful play to get through the ball. And from shallow left field, set and threw, tried to skip it on one hop to Thompson in time to get Brock, and just missed making the play. It's an infield single. So the perfecto goes out the window for the Montreal pitchers. And here's Candy Maldonado, who grounded a short his first time up. Candy just make a change here now. Ken Landro is going to come up and bat for Candy Maldonado. So with the left-hander Hesketh starting, Maldonado got the call tonight. So now they've gone to the right-hander St. Clair. Landro comes in. Ken hitting .271, 9 homers and 36 RBIs. The pitch. Breaking ball, grounded to first. Thompson goes down to Brooks for one. Back to Thompson for a double play. Nicely turned. The only problem was whether Thompson could find the bag with his foot. He stepped back and luckily grazed the bag just ahead of Landro. So a 3-6-3 double play. And the Dodgers have sent a minimum 15 batters to the plate in the first 5 innings tonight. At the end of 4.5, Expos 2, Dodgers nothing.
In that National League game at Atlanta, young Vince Coleman stole his 84th base of the year in the 3rd inning. The steal gives the Cardinals 220 stolen bases this year, which ties a club record set last year. Toronto and Chicago, first of a doubleheader in the American League. It is still the Blue Jays after 7.5, leading Chicago by a score of 6-3. Let's look at some other things in sports to get back to a ball game. Roger Malby still has a lead, or a piece of a lead, after 2 rounds of the World Series of Golf in Akron, Ohio. This time, Malby shares the top spot with Britain's Gordon Brand at 6 under par 134. Malby started the day at the Firestone Country Club, tied for first with Dennis Watson, who now trails by 2 shots. Top seed and 2-time defending champ Mats Wilander and fellow Swede Jakob Nenstrom have advanced to the semifinals of the Association of Tennis Professionals Championship in Mason, Ohio. Wilander eliminated number 5 Stefan Edberg 6-3, 6-7, 6-2 today, while the 6-seeded Nystrom upset number 2 seed Anders Gerd 6-2, 6-1. In another quarterfinal match, Tim Wilkerson sank Jimmy Brown 6-3, 6-4. 17-year-old Wimbledon champ Boris Becker now will take on Hank Pfister. That's later on tonight to determine the other semifinalists
at the $375,000 tournament.
Pete Rose needs only 12 more hits to pass Ty Cobb. Rose with a bunt single in the third inning tonight at home as the Reds come back after the longest road trip of the year. They're playing the Cubs, and that game is tied 2-2 in the last of the fourth inning. Right here, it's 2-0 Montreal as Sal Butera leads off in the bottom of the fifth for the Expos against Oral Hershiser. Butera lifted a fly ball to Guerrero first time up. The first pitch on the inside corner for a strike. The Expos #1 catcher, Mike Fitzgerald, who's from Lakewood, has a sore knee, so Buck Rogers trying to rest him about every other night. Breaking ball stays low, 1-1 to Butera. On deck, pitcher Randy St. Clair. He had to take over from an injured Joe Heston after 2 innings. There's a bouncer foul back to third, 1-2. They have not yet started the second game of the doubleheader at Shea. When they do, it'll be Sid Fernandez, who couldn't pitch last night for the Mets because he got busy about a half an hour before game time. He'll be up against former Mets Roy Lee Jackson of the Padres. San Diego won the opener, 6-1. Mark Furman did Rick Aguilera. Steve Garvey and Greg Nettles homers. San Diego playing well. He's taken 6 of the last 7. Ground ball to third. Enos Cabell picks it up and throws out Butera. One away. Randy St. Clair has been to the plate only 4 times this year, and he's had a single. The other 3 times he struck out. At the end of 4, Houston nothing, Pittsburgh nothing. Nolan Ryan, who has not won a game in his last 12 starts, is going against Lee Tunnell in that one. St. Clair takes ball 1. The Dodgers have had just 1 hit, the infield single by Brock in the top half of this inning. And he was erased as part of a double play. Hershiser's next one in there for a strike. All working quickly, comes back, and a bunt try. Left in Sosier's glove, strike 2, 1-2. Tim Raines on deck. Joaquin Andujar is trying to become the first 20-game winner in the majors this year, and the Cardinals just got him 4 in the third inning in Atlanta off Craig McMurtry for a 4-0 lead. Hershiser spins a breaking ball outside, 2-2. Andy Van Slyke accounted for 2 of those runs with his 10th homer of the year. Dwight Gooden will try to become the youngest 20-game winner in the modern era Sunday when he goes for the Mets against San Diego. Ground ball to Cabell's left. He just knocks it down, picks it up, has time to throw out the Montreal pitcher. 2 outs for Tim Raines, who has singles, doubles, and has an RBI. Raines in the last 3 weeks is hitting over .390 for Montreal. At the end of 2.5, the Giants won, the Phillies nothing. Adley Hamilton against John Denny. The next strikeout John Denny registers will be his 1,000th in the major league. They're playing a doubleheader in Chicago tonight, and at the end of 7 innings in the first game, Toronto leading the White Sox 6-3. Raines runs up the bunt, takes outside ball 1. In that game, Harold Baines hit one on the roof at Comiskey Park. Only the second left-handed batter in White Sox history to accomplish that feat. But Britt Burns, trying for his 14th win, has been replaced. Raines sends one to Guerrero. Left field area and over his head for extra base. And Tim posts into second with his 3rd hit and his 2nd straight double. Get out the hose. Tim Raines is blazing. That is the 6th hit of Oral Hershiser. And 3 have been doubled. Vance Law has bounced into a 4 shot. After getting a ball on the fielder's choice in the first inning, Vance scored on Hubie Brooks' 2-out double on an 0-2 pitch into the right field corner. The last time up, Hershiser recorded his only strikeout of the game when Vance went down swinging. The former White Sox
And Pirate player takes the strike. At the end of 2, Cleveland 4, Milwaukee nothing. Minnesota and Boston tied 1-1 there in the bottom of the fourth. Brad Evans with his 15th home run tonight for the Red Sox. The pitch outside the law, 1-1. Texas failed to score in the first inning of Kansas City. Former Dodger Dave Stewart returned to the starting rotation for this game. They see Mark Gubasov. Later, Detroit at California, New York at Seattle, Baltimore and Oakland. Chopper towards third. Cabell charging. Tough play. No play. Over the third range. Cabell wound up barehanding the ball. He did a very wise thing. He held on to it after he got it. There was no way he was going to get a law at first. So with 2 out of the 5th, the Expos put runners at the corner. And Terry Francona, who's hit a couple of ground balls, one to sack and one to drop, will try to increase Montreal's current 2-0 lead. We hope you're going to have a nice weekend. They're calling for a sunny day here in Montreal tomorrow, an 80% chance of showers Sunday. We'll join you tomorrow at 4:15. Rick Honeycutt against Bryn Smith in Game 2 of the series. There's a pop foul beyond the Dodgers' third base cover. 0-1 to Francona. On Sunday, it'll be Bob Watts for the Dodgers, Bill Gullickson for Montreal. Warm-up time, 10:15. Radio and TV. 7 hits for the Expos, only 1 hit for the Dodgers. And Montreal leading at 2-0. 7th meeting of the year between these squads. They're all even. There's a foul on the 3-0-2 to Francona. Terry Francona had complained earlier in the year he was not getting enough playing time. He asked the Montreal management to trade him. They said, no, you're too valuable. And finally, on August 1st, the Expos dealt Dan Reese into San Francisco, and Francona got a chance to play. And what happened? Yesterday, the Expos call up a youngster from the minor leagues, a 24-year-old Venezuelan named Andre Galarraga. And now the word is that Galarraga is going to platoon with Francona at first base. 0-2 pitch. Line drive, base hit, right field. James scores. Long go to third, and the throw cut off. And it's 3-0 Montreal. All started with 2 out and nobody on. Brains doubled. Law got an infield chopper to third for a single. And Francona singles home a run to give him 23 RBIs. And that might be it for Hershiser. Here comes Lasorda. Oral had an easy third and fourth. He gave up 2 hits in a run in the first inning, 3 hits in a run in the second, and 3 hits in a run in the 5th. So Hershiser has not won a ball game since August the 2nd. Apparently will be replaced here. Or will he? No. Tommy's going to stay with it. Hershiser is due to bat third when the Dodgers come up in the 6th inning. And all must have convinced Tommy that he's short enough left to get the third out. Gibby Brooks is the hitter. Brooks had only 1 hit in his last 22 at-bats when he sliced an 0-2 pitch into the right field corner for a double to pick up Law in the first inning. Brooks popped up to sack his last time up. Man from Thompson, Gibby Brooks, looks at a fastball in for a strike. The Expos recently made Brooks their cleanup hitter, and in his first 17 games in the number 4 slot, he batted .406 with 17 RBI. Then he went to the 10th. Breaking ball, Gibby fouls off the front foot. 0-2. Montreal has been shut out 3 of the last 4 games between Ball and Holmes. They've got a 9-win long season. Most important to this ball game. They started Monday night against the Mets. Montreal was only 4 games out of the East. But the Mets beat them 1-0 Monday. The Padres beat them 1-0 Tuesday. San Diego won 6-2 Wednesday. San Diego won last night 3-0. Suddenly the Expos are 7 out. Kaiser misses outside, 1-2. Kaiser on thin ice. It figures to be his last inning of work now that he's 3 runs behind. 1-2 offering. Breaking ball bounced back to the pitcher. Kaiser lobbed it to Brock. That takes care of Brooks. But the 3 consecutive hits with 2 out of the 5th produced a run for Montreal. At the end of 5, Expos 3, Dodgers nothing.
National Football League exhibition scoreboard. End of the first quarter, no score between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams. Also a first quarter score, Detroit Lions out in front of the Cincinnati Bengals by a score of 14-0. 2 other exhibition games just underway, Washington at New England and St. Louis at Pittsburgh. On Saturday in the NFL, we have one more weekend of practice games before the real thing starts early in September. Saturday we'll find San Diego at San Francisco, Cleveland at Buffalo, Atlanta meets Green Bay in Milwaukee, Tampa Bay will be at New Orleans, New York Jets at the New York Giants, Seattle at Minnesota, Indianapolis at Denver, Kansas City at Houston, and Miami at the Los Angeles Raiders. Monday night, Chicago plays at Dallas. We won't go into all of next week. It'll wind up on the following Saturday, August 31st. And they'll be ready to go on the 7th of September, the following Sunday, for all the festivities around the league, opening up the 1985 football season. Checking the scoreboard before we go back to our ball game at the top of the 6th inning. Houston at Pittsburgh after 5, no score. Elsewhere in the American League after 4, Boston leads Minnesota 2-1. And after 2.5, Cleveland is ahead of Milwaukee by a score of 4-0. Toronto and Chicago, the first game of a doubleheader, should be about over. After 8.5 innings of play, the latest we have on that ball game is the Blue Jays 6 and the White Sox 3. Very much interested in that doubleheader of the New York Yankees, who will be playing at Seattle later on tonight. That game will start in about an hour and a half or so. Going into action tonight, Toronto leading the New York Yankees, who have been really playing great ball for the last 3 or 4 weeks, 3.5 behind Toronto.
Mike Scherzer leads off on the Dodgers' 6th inning, and Randy St. Clair's first pitch is high, ball 1. Scoreless in their last 15 innings. The Dodgers now have fallen behind 3-0 to the Expos. Scherzer grounded the second his first time up. Takes the fastball, high, ball 2. In the Dodger bullpen, left-hander Carlos Diaz and right-hander Bobby Castillo have been throwing. The 2-0 pitch to Scherzer. He's taking it, it's outside, ball 3, 3-0. Ken Howell now joins Diaz as Castillo sits down in the Dodger pen. Mike figures to be taking here the 3-0 offering, and down the middle for a called strike, 3-1. Joe Heskett made the start for Montreal, was injured in a home plate collision with Scherzer in the second inning, was tagged out. Injured his left chin, has gone to the hospital for precautionary x-ray. But Randy St. Clair's done a masterful job taking over for him. However, he loses Scherzer with an inside pitch, ball 4. That's just the second base runner of the night for the Dodgers. Greg Brock beat out a single to deep short with 1 out of the last inning. Only to have Ken Landreau coming up as a pinch hitter for Maldonado, wrap into a 3-6-3 double play. 15 sacks. He grounded to short his first time up. The wind beginning to pick up at Olympic Stadium. The Weather Service called for a late night thunderstorm here. It is almost 9 o'clock in Montreal. Scott Thompson playing behind Scherzer at first. Nobody out. St. Clair's pitched the sack. On the outside corner, a breaking ball for a strike. The Dodgers lost last night, 2-0 in Philadelphia. Down tonight, 3-0 in Montreal in the 6th. So 1 strike, 6 to back. Way inside. Ball 1. The Dodgers announced today that they will add 6 players to their roster effective September 2nd. St. Clair stretches and delivers. In fact, looks at a fastball down the middle. Strike 2, 1 and 2. Sid Bream, Gilberto Reyes, Ralph Bryant, Franklin Stubbs will all be called up from Albuquerque, and Jose Gonzalez from San Antonio. And the Dodgers will purchase the contract of outfielder Stu Peterson from Albuquerque. So 1-2 pitch. Breaking ball, bounce foul. It hits strike while in the batter's box. So the count remains 1 and 2. Of course, on September 1st, Major League clubs can expand their rosters from 25 to 30 players. But the Dodgers will go only to 31. Stubbs hit his 28th homer of the year last night for Albuquerque. Albert Franklin hitting under 270. Expos 3, Dodgers nothing. Scotia takes his lead in a 1-2-6 attack. This foul over the first base dugout of the Expos. Three runs, 8 hits, no errors for Montreal. No runs, 1 hit, no errors for the Dodgers. The Padres won the first game of the doubleheader from the Mets tonight, 6-1. The Dodgers leading the Padres by 6.5 games in the West at the moment. St. Clair's next pitch. A smash into right field, a base hit. Tokyo will stop at second. Stade smacking one to the left of UL Washington for the Dodgers' second hit. 2 on, nobody out. Hershiser will leave for a pinch hitter. Lynn and Matusik. Matusik played here in Canada earlier in the year at Toronto for the Blue Jays. And then came to the Dodgers in a deal for Al Oliver. So Hershiser goes 5 innings, gives up 3 runs, 8 hits, and 1 strikeout, and didn't walk anybody. Buck Rogers is going to the mound, and he'll make a pitching change. So Randy St. Clair, who has been used exclusively this year as a reliever, does a good job for 3 innings. Couldn't get anybody out of the 6th. And the Expos will use their 3rd pitcher of the night. St. Clair gave up 2 hits and walked a man in the 3 innings. So a new pitcher being brought in the little cart they have for relievers here at Olympic Stadium. A reminder, the Dodgers 1985 media guide featuring Bill Russell on the cover is available at all participating Barnes grocery stores. The 152-page guide filled with biographies, pictures of your favorite Dodgers, and statistics is on sale for special price of only $2. With your media guide at hand, you'll better follow the Dodgers down the stretch. So stop by your participating Barnes grocery store and pick up your copy of the 1985 Dodger Media Guide. Right-hander Tim Burke has had a spectacular year for Montreal. He's coming on now. With 2 on and nobody out of the 6th, and the Expos ahead of the Dodgers 3-0. On the scoreboard, the Astros and the Pirates still scoreless at the end of 5.5 in Pittsburgh, Ryan against Tunnel. Cubs 2, Reds 2, they played 5 in Cincinnati. Dave Baller against Andy McGaffigan. We told you San Diego beat New York in the doubleheader opener 6-1. Mark Sherman over Rick Aguilera. The Mets were ahead 1-0 going to the 6th, and with 2 outs, San Diego strung together 5 consecutive hits for 4 runs. Steve Garvey and Greg Nettles both homered in the 7th to cap the scoring. San Diego won 4 in a row. At the end of 4, the Cardinals 4, the Braves 1 in Atlanta. Andy Hart trying to run his record to 20-7 against McMurtry, and strike a 2-run homer his 10th. The Giants won. The Phillies 1-3. Hamilton against Bennett. Final score in the American League. First game of the Twin Bill. Toronto 6, Chicago 3. Despite Harold Baines' 10th homer. The end of 3, Cleveland 6, Milwaukee nothing. At the end of 4.5, Boston 2, Minnesota 1. Texas and Kansas City scoreless after 1. And coming up later, Detroit at California, Baltimore at Oakland, and New York and Seattle. All right, Tim Burke, who had his 8-game winning streak this year, snapped here the other night. Ready to face Matuszak. Coach at second, sacks at first, and the first pitch. Check swing, he'll field to third. Swing, says Frank Fuller. 0-1 to Matuszak, who a year ago was the top pinch hitter in the National League while a member of the Phillies. But the Dodgers only hitting .250. And the next pitch is low and inside for a ball. The Expos boast the top bullpen in the major league. Spearheaded, of course, by Jeff Reardon, who has 31 saves more than anybody in the game. Matuszak looks at the fastball below the knees. That's ball 2, 2-1. Burke tied the Montreal club record with the 8-game winning streak until the Mets snapped it here 1-0 Monday evening. In his last 44 appearances, Burke's run average is 1.12. And Matuszak takes strike 2, 2-2. Burke ranks third in the league this year in appearances. This is his 57th game. Runs, 8 hits for the Expos, no runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. It's been a narrowless contest. Tim Burke's next pitch. Breaking ball, low and inside. And the count goes to 1-1. Burke, a Cinderella story. He didn't figure to make the Montreal staff this year. He wasn't on their 40-man roster in spring training. His fastball's outside. 2 balls and a strike. Burke last year pitched for Buck Rogers at Indianapolis. He was 11-8. He was a starting pitcher there. This year he's a reliever. 2-1 pitch to Duncan. Almost hit him. Mariano goes down. His left hand on the plate. And he's just now getting up. 3 balls and a strike. The breaking ball almost hit Duncan. On deck, Enos Cabell. Burke is 26 years old, 6'3", 205 pounders. Takes his home in Bonsal, California. There's strike 2 called Duncan, 3-2. Scotia has no speed, so it doesn't figure that the Dodgers would let the runners go here, especially the way Duncan's been striking out this year. The stretch by Burke. The runners do not go, and Duncan checks his swing and bounces it foul past third. Still 3-2. Burke attended the University of Nebraska for 3 years. Pittsburgh chose him in the second round of the June 1980 draft, and then delved into the Yankees organization late in '82. His deal for Lee Mazzilli. There's a line drive to right field, a base hit for Mariano Duncan. Mike Scioscia being held, and the Dodgers will have the bases loaded with 1 out here in the 6th inning. Malficano making the wise decision not to send Scioscia. Not with the Dodgers 3 runs behind. 2 hits in the inning for the Dodgers, 3 hits in the game, and they've all come in the last 2 innings. Bases loaded for Enos Cabell, who has popped up and grounded out. Scioscia at third, Sachs at second, Duncan at first. 9 runs out there. After Cabell will come Guerrero, and the Dodgers trying to get back into this one, trailing 3-0. Fridays have been good to the Dodgers. They won 14 of 20 on Fridays, but they're down right now. First pitch, almost a wild pitch. Good stop by catcher Sal Butera. Backhanding one, low and outside. Ball 1 to Cabell. Enos now going through some exercise exercises, deep knee bends, trying to get loose. That rib cage on the left side's been bothering him now for over a week. He's missed the last 8 games. 3 on, 1 out. The stretch by Tim Burke. And the 1-0 pitch to Enos Cabell. Down foul at the plate. 1-1. The Dodgers were the lowest scoring team in baseball a year ago, and the Expos were next to last in runs. Those teams have improved a bit this year, but still only the Pirates and the Giants in the National League have scored fewer runs than these two squads. Montreal blanked in 3 of its last 4 games. The Dodgers shut out last night and trying to get on the board tonight against Montreal. First 1-1 pitch. Almost hit Cabell. Right at his left rib cage. That's all Enos needed was to get plunked there. 2-1 to the 35-year-old veteran, Enos Cabell, out of Gardena. Base is loaded for the Dodgers. Their first chance of the night. It's the first time he's got anybody past first base. Guerrero on deck. Burke ready. The 2-1 pitch. Chased and missed. The breaking ball. Good pitch by Burke, and Cabell couldn't handle it. 2-2. Tomorrow we'll join you at 4:15. Rick Pennycutt pitches for the Dodgers. 14-game winner Bryn Smith for the Expos. Burke staring down the Butera for the sign. Is set. 2-2 pitch to Cabell. Slow ground ball to third. The throw to the plate by Law in time for the only joy. A force out on Sosa. Good play by Vance Law. There was no way he could get a double play. And with the play right in front of him and the force possible, he whipped it down to Butera, and they easily got Sosa. Sachs takes third. Duncan goes to second. Cabell aboard on the fielder's choice, and here's Pedro with the bases loaded. Now 2 out. Guerrero has hit about 380 over the years at Olympic Stadium. Tonight he's 0 for 2. Washington Robinson will hit the last time up. Check swing strike on a breaking ball on the outside corner. Pedro fly to center in the first inning. Guerrero has hit 384 over the last 37 games for the Dodgers. Trying to break up the Montreal shutout, which is being carved tonight by 3 pitchers. Joe Hesketh, Randy Sinclair, and now Tim Burke. Burke continuing to work out of the stretch. 0-1 pitch. Fastball inside to beat. 1-1. Here in the inning, a walk and 2 singles. Now 2 out. Guerrero waiting. Here comes the 1-1 pitch. Breaking ball driven to left center field and deep. Ray's going back. It's got a chance. Grand slam for Guerrero. What a year. 30 home runs. 77 runs batted in. And Guerrero gives the Dodgers a 4-3 lead in Montreal with a slam. He hit it over 400 feet over the left center field wall. And the Dodgers have come from 3 runs behind to lead it. A stunned Tim Burke now delivers to Mike Marshall, and misses low and outside for a ball. For Guerrero, his second grand slam as a Dodger. The other one came in June of 1983 at San Diego off Elias Sosa, a former Dodger. Breaking ball in the outside corner for a strike to Marshall, 1-1. So Marshall had a grand slam the other night in Philadelphia, and tonight Guerrero hits one with 3 aboard in Montreal to give the Dodgers a lead. The pitch, slider on the outside corner for a strike. You know, Oral Hershiser is the pitcher of record for the Dodgers at the moment. That's right. Massachusetts batted for him. But if the Dodgers hold on to the lead, Oral could still get his 13th win. All right, the 1-2 pitch to Marshall. Fastball, bounce foul. So Tim Burke surrenders his 5th home run in 85 innings. Guerrero has 30 home runs. Remember, he had only 4 in the month of April and May combined. The next one to Mike. Breaking ball, bounce foul, back of the plate. Guerrero with 2 homers in April, 2 in May, 15 in June when he was the National League Player of the Month, 4 in July, and 7 now in August. 4-3 Dodgers. On the home run by Pete, the Unical Corporation is pleased to present a $50 book of Unical 76 auto strips to the YWCA of Corinth. First pitch. Foul back on an inside fastball. Well, Steve Garvey said it here yesterday, and more people are saying it in baseball. Pedro Guerrero is having an MVP-type season. The next pitch, low and outside off Gutierrez's glove, ball 2-2-2. With 2 out and the base is loaded. Guerrero drilled one. He's 3 home runs behind Dale Murphy of Atlanta for the league lead. Marshall waiting, 2-2. Here it comes. On the hands and fouled onto the screen. It has been a long time since we have seen a Dodger have a 3-month binge like Guerrero's had. June, July, and August have been simply fantastic. Fastball just outside the Marshall, 3-2. So we told you Pete likes this ballpark, and he just showed it again. A grand slam homer, and the Dodgers leading 4-3. The next one, swung on a miss, that'll do it for Marshall. But the Dodgers come up with 4 runs, 3 hits, and at the end of 5.5, Dodgers 4, Expos 3.
In that game in Chicago in the American League, Jesse Barfield and Garth Org each drove in a couple of runs to highlight a 4-run 4th-inning uprising Friday night as the Toronto Blue Jays defeated the Chicago White Sox in the first game of a doubleheader, 6-3. The doubleheader was scheduled to make up a rained-out game back on May 27th. Toronto starter Tom Filer pitched only 5 innings but earned his 7th victory without a loss, setting a Blue Jays record for most wins without a defeat. The right-hander allowed 4 hits while striking out 1 and walking 1. Dennis Lapp, Gary Lavelle, and Tom Henke finished up. Henke struck out the side in the 9th for his 5th save of the year. Starting pitcher was Brett Burns. He was a loser for the Chicago White Sox. His record now is 13-8. First seeded Ivan Lendl and 5th seed Miloslav Mitsar, 2 Czechoslovakia players, won their quarterfinals Friday in the $150,000 Hamlet Challenge Cup in Jericho, New York. Makar gained the semifinals by upsetting 3rd seed Kevin Curran of South Africa, the number 3 seed, 6-4, 6-1 in 53 minutes. Checking the scoreboard again, we have a lot of games going on now in the American League. After 2.5, the Texas Rangers lead the Kansas City Royals 1-0. In the National League, at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, after 4 innings of play, the San Francisco Giants are leading the Philadelphia Phillies by a score of 2-1.
Pedro Guerrero's grand slam homer has lifted the Dodgers to a 4-3 lead over the Expos as we go to the bottom of the 6th at Olympic Stadium. Well, the Dodgers, it's their 4th slam of the year. We told you about Marshall's 2 nights ago in Philadelphia. Mike had one last month at home against the Cubs' Warren Brewster. And Greg Brock also hit one last month against Pittsburgh's Al Holland at Dodger Stadium. Now in the lead,
The Dodgers turn to one of their bullpen specialists, Ken Howell. And here in the bottom of the sixth, Howell will be looking at Scott Thompson, Herm Winningham, and U.L. Washington. As far as the scoring in that inning, Randy Sinclair is charged with 2 runs, and Tim Burke with the last 2. Anytime you have a fielder's choice, as you had when Cabell get into the fourth out to play with Socha being retired, you still set up that runner with the previous pitcher. But Tim Burke is the pitcher of record at the moment, as is the Dodger Doyle Hershiser. Howell's first pitch to Thompson. This is ball 1. Thompson has bounced to third and lined to short. Ken is not allowed to run in his last 4 outings for the Dodgers. Gets a fastball in there, knee high for a strike. Down by 3. The Dodgers strike back on 1 swing by Guerrero. Kenny's next pitch. In on the hands. Thompson tried to hold up, went too far around. Strike 2, 1-2. Remember, the first 13 Dodger batters were retired tonight. Now they're leading. Ground ball in second. Sachs picks it up and throws out Scott Thompson. 1 away. If you were not with us at the start, the Expos do not have Andre Dawson or Tim Wallach in the lineup. They're both resting tonight, with Hershiser going to the mound for the Dodgers. But Rogers kiddingly said Hershiser is one of those 2 guys' favorite pitchers. So it's a good night to sit him down. And then he said they both had trouble against Doyle in the past. Herb Winningham has singled and lined out the block. Howell's pitch. Fastball lifted foul off to the left, out of play. So the Dodgers, in less than a month, have hit 4 Grand Slam homers. They only had 2 all of last year, one by Yeager, one by Marshall. And the day Marshall hit his off the Giants, the Dodgers blew a 4-0 lead in the loss. Howell's next one. Slow ground ball up along first. It's foul. 0-2 to Herm Winningham. Ken Howell is in his 42nd game. 2 fewer appearances than teammate Tom Needham did. His record 4-5. He has 12 saves and an ERA at 2.8. Padres won the first game of their doubleheader in New York, 6-1. The Dodgers leading here in Montreal, 4-3. Fastball is swung on and missed by Winningham in the dirt. Socha tagged him out to plate. So Tilroy, and the batter is U.L. Washington, who has a bunt single and a fly ball out to left. They're underway in the second game at Shea, and at the end of 1, no scores. Sid Fernandez for New York, Roy Lee Jackson for San Diego. Bottom of the 7th in Pittsburgh, Astros nothing, Pirates nothing. Nolan Ryan versus Lee Tunnell. Top of the 7th in Cincinnati, Chicago 2, Reds 2. Ball there against McGaffigan. Howell's pitch, swing and a miss by Washington. Strike 1. Bottom of the 5th in Georgia, St. Louis 4, Atlanta 1. Back to Joaquin Andujar, trying to win his 20th. Into 4, San Francisco 2, Philadelphia 1. To repeat, Pete Rose had a bunt single for the Reds tonight in the 3rd inning. So he draws to within 12 hits of breaking Ty Cobb's standard. Swing and a miss by Washington. And Howell's ahead 0-2. The Blue Jays beat the White Sox in the opener of their doubleheader, 6-3. Second game not underway yet. Cleveland 6, Milwaukee nothing, bottom of the 4th. Boston 2, Minnesota 1, bottom of the 6th. Texas 1, Kansas City nothing after 2.5. 3 more later on the coast. Fastball outside, 1-2 to Washington. We're in the 6th. Dodgers 4, Expos 3 on a grand slam homer by Pedro Guerrero. His 30th homer of the year and the second slam of his career. Hal ready, the 1-2 pitch. Line to left field. Guerrero's there. He's got it. The Expos gone in order. Jerry returns in a moment. At the end of 6, Dodgers 4, Expos 3.
In San Francisco, the mayor's offering money to help catch a killer.
I've authorized a reward of $10,000 for information that will lead to the arrest and conviction of a man whose name has been dubbed the Night Stalker.
The Night Stalker Mayor Dianne Feinstein has in mind is wanted for murdering a man in San Francisco and wanted for a series of murders in the Los Angeles area. A new study finds gay and bisexual men are becoming less and less willing to be tested for exposure to the AIDS virus, for fear that'll lead to a witch hunt against that. ABC's Vic Ratner says there'll be no fizz aboard the space shuttle that's launched in Florida in the morning.
The Coke and Pepsi-Cola carried on the last shuttle flight were such disappointments that shuttle boss Jess Moore told us there are no plans to carry any more sodas on future shuttle missions.
It was A-OK today for that NX Peacekeeper missile. The first test firing from a silo in the California desert went well. More than 100 illegal aliens busted by the Border Patrol today as they worked at California's Del Mar racetrack. I'm Bob Hart.
Looking at an NFL note here from Minneapolis, the agent for wide receiver Anthony Carter says today that his client has obtained his release from the United States Football League. According to agent Gary Wolf, Carter is now ready to join the Minnesota Vikings. Wolf also says Carter has agreed on a 5-year contract with the Vikings worth just over $2 million. Minnesota obtained Carter's NFL rights in a trade with Miami earlier this summer.
Okay, we go to the 7th inning of the ball game, and for the Expos now, we have Gary Lucas coming in to take over. And Tim Wallach goes into the game at third base. Let's see if there's any other changes now for Montreal. Law has moved to second base. So that's the changes we see there. Washington comes out, so you can put Lucas in Washington's spot. Gary Lucas, the left-hand relief pitcher, will come on. Law goes to third. And Tim Wallach is going to bat in the number 9 spot. And will be the second batter up in the 7th inning against Kenny Howell. So Wallach is at third. Law goes to second base from third, and Lucas now comes on to do the pitching. Gary Lucas from the Southern California area, formerly with the San Diego Padres. Big tall left-hander ready to go to work, and the Dodgers start off with Brock, Landro, and Socha, all 3 left-hand hitters. For Lucas, 4 wins, 2 losses, and a 2.94 earned run average. We'll give you the line on Burke in a moment. Tim worked 1 inning. Gave up 3 runs and 2 hits, including the grand slam home run to Pedro. He struck out 2, did not walk anybody, and now it's Gary Lucas taking over. The pitch on the way to Brock, and that's a little slider on the outside corner for a strike. The count levels up at 1-1 now to Greg Brock. But the Dodgers have 3 left-hand batters in a row here in the 7th inning. Good delivery. And Brock hits one into right center field for a base hit. Over to cut it off the center fielder Winningham, and so Brock is on with a single, his second hit of the game. And the Dodgers now will have Kenny Landro coming on. Landro came up as a pinch hitter against the right-hand pitcher St. Clair in the 5th inning and hit into a double play. We gave you Lucas numbers. He pitched pretty well. Earned run average under 3. He has 1 save. And he's finished up 12 ball games, Gary, in his 34th game. There's Landro with a bouncer down the right field line over the head of Thompson. It'll go in the corner for a base hit. Kenny holds as Francona fires it back in, but on the plate, Brock is around the third. So the Dodgers have the 2 left-hand hitters start off against the left-hand pitcher with bouncers to the right side for base hit. And that'll bring on Mike Socha. As Landreau singles, he's 1 out of 2 tonight, and his Scotia bat has drawn a walk and grounded out. So Mike Scotia at bat. Seinfeld. Now Lucas wants to talk with his catcher, Butera. So the meeting at the mound now. Scotia with 41 RBIs on the year. Now again, the left-hander throw to first base, and Landreau hops back on the bag. The Dodgers, who were held without a hit until the 5th inning when Brock got an infield single, and picked up 3 more hits in the 6th time, picked up 2 in the 7th. Lucas ready to go to work, and the pitch on the way. Scotia takes one at the knees for a strike, and it's 0-1. Paid attendance tonight is 21,124. That seems to be about the number the Dodgers have seen every night. It keeps going down a little bit. 24, 23, 22, and now 21 on the last 4 games on the road trip. Landreau at first, Brock is at third. We're in the 7th inning. And Gary Lucas ready to go. And the pitch is outside to Mike. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-1 count. Stacks on deck. And Howell due to follow. The pitcher of record for the Dodgers, Paul Hershiser, and Tim Burke, the pitcher of record for Montreal. 1 ball and 1 strike. The pitch to Scotia. A swing and a miss with the breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Scotia gets left-hand pitching, hitting 204. Brock was hitting just 170 and Landreau 121. But the first 2 men are on. Both left-handers going against the left-hander Gary Lucas. And Scotia now trying to make it 3 straight. Here's the 1-2 pitch instead of throw to first base, and Landreau gets back. Sacks through to follow, and then Howell. So we're going to the bottom of the order, and it's up to Scotia now to try to get a run in here. Infield playing double play up. Dodgers leading 4-3. The pitch to Scotia. Breaking ball away, and it's a ball 2 and strike 2 count. Gary Lucas, who began playing baseball in Riverside as a first baseman. His idol was Wes Parker. Now he's grown up to be a relief pitcher. The Dodgers have runners on the corners here in the 7th inning with nobody out in the lead by 1. Game 7 on the road trip. They're all even at 3-3 on the trip. Here's the pitch to Scotia. That one's too low. Ball 3. Goes to a 3-2 count, and now they might get a little break and send Landreau. Scotia does not strike out very much. He is very good at making contact. So you would expect Landreau to go on a 3-2 count. Scotia's only struck out 15 times in nearly 300 at-bats. So Landreau gets his lead away from Thompson, and Lucas will eye him closely. Kenny will not want to commit too soon. He goes, and the pitch is ball 4 to load him up. So the Dodgers have the bases loaded with nobody out, and Stade will be the batter. And Kenny Howell due next. So the Expos, who led 1-0, 2-0, and 3-0 through 5 innings, saw the Dodgers turn it around on Guerrero's grand slam in the 6th inning, and now have the bases loaded in the 7th inning, and Stacks the batter. He's 1 out of 2. And Kenny Howell coming up on deck. After Howell, of course, we go to the top of the order. Now Montreal will bring the infield up. They'll be trying to make a play at the plate with Stacks at bat. So Stacks up with a chance to really help the Dodgers now. Here's the look, and the pitch on the way. That's a strike at the knees, 0-1. Stacks with 1 home run and 26 runs batted in. The bases are loaded, and Stacks backs out to have a look at Amalfitano. All right, Stacks waits. Here's the pitch. And it's hit foul off to the right out of play. Strike two. Bert Roberge is throwing in the bullpen now for Montreal, out behind the left field fence. Well, you really feel like you're isolated from the ball game here in Montreal. Long way from the broadcast booth to the field, and really an overnight trip out to the bullpen area. 0-2 to Stade. Lucas ready. The look and the pitch on the way to Steve. That strike three call. Stade is called out on strike as Lucas gets a good breaking ball over. And now we'll see about Howell. He's being called back, and the Dodgers might go for a hitter here. And Kenny Howell will go back and sit down, and the Dodgers now will have a hitter. We'll see. If Stade is called out on strike, and Tommy Lasorda seeing a good chance to break this game open, doesn't want to waste it by having the pitcher at that, when he can call on his bullpen, and he will have probably Niedenfuhr or Diaz throwing down there. We'll check and see about the bullpen. And it'll be R.J. Reynolds is going to come on and hit. And Niedenfuhr, who has been doing a lot of pitching lately, will be called on. Niedenfuhr worked 3 innings in the first game against Philadelphia, didn't work in the second game, and didn't work in the game last night. So R.J. Reynolds now is going to be the hitter for Kenny Howell. Dodgers trying to get some more runs here. They lead 4-3, and we'll see what Buck Rogers does as he pays a visit to the mound to talk to Gary Lucas. Reynolds, of course, is a switch hitter and will be the Dodgers' second pinch hitter of the game. Matusic struck out in his appearance. Howell worked 1 inning and retired the side in order. So it means that the Dodgers will be calling on Niedenfuhr to get 9 outs. And both for the short man, that's a lot. But they also have Diaz and Castillo down there, along with Dennis Powell. The other night, of course, they used Honeycutt as the saver, but Honeycutt pitches tomorrow. Okay, here's R.J. Reynolds stepping in, and R.J. is hitting .258 with 24 RBI, and he's 2 for 14 as a pinch hitter. Now the Expos play the infield double play down. The bases are loaded and 1 out. In fact, the big out went down on strike. Here's the pitch. Lucas delivers a strike to Reynolds. Sinker at the knees, and it's 0-1. Dodgers could really use a base hit and open this game up a little bit. They lead 4-3. We're in the top half of the 7th inning at the Olympique Stadium in Montreal. 0-1 is the count. Here's the arm stretch, the look, the check of the runner, the pitch on the way. Swing at a miss. Strike 2. So Reynolds is quickly in the hole at 0-2. 0-2 the count. Reynolds at bat, 7th inning. Brock singled, Landro singled, and Scotia drew a walk. Sack struck out. And Reynolds is in a hole at 0-2. Duncan is on deck. Gary Lucas up with the arm. Now the check to look and the pitch on the way. High for a ball, 1-2 to R.J. Trying to get at least the fly ball to score the runner from third. Brock has adequate speed. The outfield is playing straight away. The infield is playing up. They'll go for a play at the plate. A 1-run ball game, so the Expos are trying to keep it that way. Now the 1-2 look, the pitch on the way. Half swing fouled into the stands off to the right. R.J. trying to punch it somewhere and get the runs in. Brock is at third, Landro at second, and Scotia's at first. Dodgers had a big 4 in the 6th inning, the grand slam by Guerrero. Reynolds at bat now, here in the 7th. Cool evening here in Montreal. The 1-2 look. The pitch on the way. Ground ball to short. Brooks up with it, down to the plate. Run on to first base, not in time. The bases remain loaded, but they get a force out at home. Before we see about Duncan, we'll pause for station identification. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers Radio Network.
This is the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
J.J. Reynolds comes up short, grounding into a fourth play. Out at the plate is Brock, and here's Duncan at bat. He's 1 out of 3 in the game tonight. But the Dodgers are about to blow a big chance unless Duncan can do something. Bases loaded, nobody out, and boy, does that drive the manager crazy. So, Duncan at bat. Bases loaded. Lucas trying to get out of it. The pitch on the way to Mariano. Fouled away. Strike one. Duncan has 19 RBIs and 4 home runs. He's hit safely in 7 out of 8. 13 hits in 35 at-bats. So he's doing well. He's averaged at 251. Dodgers leading 4-3, 7th inning, bases loaded. They filled him up with nobody out. Now there are 2 outs and they haven't scored. After that big night the other night in Philadelphia, runs are hard to come by. The 0-1 pitch on the way. And Mariano, it's a fly ball to left field deep. Back toward Joe Raines. This ball is out of here. A grand slam for Mariano Duncan. How do you do? Mariano Duncan gets a grand slam home run, and the Dodgers lead 8-3, and listen to the crowd. You talk about disbelief. Mariano pulled that one down the left field line. His 5th home run, and he's being mobbed at the dugout. Mariano Duncan, a grand slam home run over the left field fence. The Dodgers 8 and Montreal 3, and the Dodgers now have back-to-back grand slam home runs in the 6th by Guerrero and in the 7th inning by Duncan. Boy, they're all over Duncan in the dugout. He really put some numbers on the board in a hurry. And he put some numbers on the board from the Unical Corporation. $50 book of Unical Auto Strip to the Pleasant View Achievement Center, Gate Canyon Road in Stade, California. Here is Cabal at bat, 0 for 3. The crowd is still stunned about that one as Duncan drives in 3 of them with a grand slam off Gary Lucas. Here's a foul back out of play for Cabal. Boy, if Mariano had a year, wow. A golden glove in the field and a stellar hitter at the plate. He is really something. 8-3 Dodgers as Cabal waits his plate and a strike 2 count. And Cabal hits one to right field. Right there is Francona to make the catch. The side is retired, and the Dodgers score 4 more. And another grand slam. There were 3 hits, nobody left, and the score going to the bottom of the 7th. Dodgers 8 and Montreal 3.
Well, Duncan was called up earlier this year because of an injury in the Dodger infield. NFL exhibition, halftime, Washington 20, New England 12.
For the Dodgers now leading by a score of 8-3. The Expos come to bat in the bottom of the 7th inning, and the Dodgers send Baylor to play third. And they're bringing Carlos Diaz to do the pitching. And Carlos now will come on. They had both Diaz and Niedenhuis warming up down there. So Diaz will be coming in, and he'll bat in the number 2 spot. And Bob Baylor will play third base and bat in the number 9 spot. So those are the 2 changes the Dodgers make, a double switch. As Cabal made the last out, and Enos still hurting a little bit, so the Dodgers will put Baylor in the lineup at third. And Diaz now will pitch in the bottom of the 7th inning, and he will be going to Butera batting 8th and Tim Wallach batting 9th. Wallach, you'll recall, went in a double switch when Lucas came in the 7th inning. So Lucas gives up a grand slam. Burke had given up a grand slam. The Dodgers now have had 5 grand slam home runs this season, and you have to go back to 1979 to find a Dodgers team that had more than 5. The 79 team had 6. But the Dodgers have had 3 this week and 2 this game. And I tell you, I can't remember them having 2 grand slam home runs in a game. Don't know. I imagine they'll start checking on it to find out when that happened last. So the Dodgers now, who were trailing and looking very dismal about things, they went 4 scoreless innings, actually 5 scoreless innings and 4 hitless innings before Brock got an infield hit in the 5th inning. And then the double play slowed that one down. And then they got busy with the grand slam home run. Okay, we'll have Diaz to pitch to Butera, and then Wallach. They're looking in the book to see if the last time the Dodgers had 2 grand slams in a game. Well, we're looking in the press guide, and there's none in L.A. history, so they're going to call New York and see about the Brooklyn days, 2 grand slams in an inning. I'll ask Duke Snyder, he might know. Here's Butera, the catcher. Carlos Diaz into the windup, and his pitch on the way is a little low for a ball, 1-0. For Diaz, his 32nd appearance, 3 wins, 2 losses, and no saves. Earned run average of 188. Check swing, bounce to the third. Baylor will have it. Here's his play and time, and we have Butera gone 1 away in the 7th inning. The pitcher of record, by the way, is still Oral Hershiser, who pitched 5 innings and gave up 3 runs and left losing 3-0. But Oral was the benefactor of the grand slam by Guerrero in the 6th inning. That was the inning they hit for Oral, and now he really gets a bonus when Duncan hits the grand slam. Here's Tim Wallach at bat. He came in the 7th inning. Tim didn't start, neither did Dawson, as Buck Rogers decided to give those 2 a night off. As a bounce to the third, great backhand stop by Baylor, turns, throws, and gets him. Good play by Bob on the third baseline. So 2 up and 2 down in a hurry, and Tim Raines will be the batter. Raines coming up has 3 for 3, 2 singles and a double, scored a run and drove in a run. The Padres won their first game of the doubleheader from New York down south, and there's no score in the second game, but the Dodgers looked for a while like they would see another game cut off their lead. But now, unless they really hit disaster, they ought to be able to maintain that and maybe even gain a little bit. They began tonight 7 games ahead of the Padres and 9 ahead of the Reds. It is 8-3 Dodgers with home runs, grand slams by Guerrero and Duncan, 2 Dominican dandies. Belting them out of here. For Duncan, his 5th home run of his big league career. He had only 3 in his entire minor league career. There's a bounce to the third. It'll be a foul ball this time. Strike 1 count. Oh, we have bad news about Joe Heskett, the pitcher who was hurt in the collision at home plate in the 2nd inning. He has a fracture of the left shin bone, and his leg will be put in a cast, and he's probably through for the year. Joe Heskett, rookie pitcher, great kid, and had done a good job for Montreal, and he suffered the injury in the collision at home plate in the 2nd inning. Time to score on a ball hit the right center field by Raines, deflected off to Marshall by Maldonado, and Heskett was out in the collision at the plate trying to hurdle over Socha, who was blocking it. Here's a swing and a miss for Raines, 1-2. Socha in a legitimate position, right across home plate. The throw came in, and Mike was down on his knees to catch the ball, so he was a sitting duck target. And Heskett tried to hurdle over him and get the plate, and in so doing, he must have struck his left shin bone against some of Socha's equipment or his body, and suffered a fracture of the shin bone, and he will be out for a while. So 1-2 count. Here's the pitch to Raines. Ground ball to third. Here's Baylor with the play on the run. Got him, and he got all 3 of them. So the Expos are gone 1-2-3 in the 7th inning, and the score at the end of 7, Dodgers 8 and Montreal 3.
Looking at exhibition football again, halftime, Philadelphia Eagles 7, LA Rams nothing. Halftime, Detroit leading Cincinnati 21-10. First quarter, no score between St. Louis and Pittsburgh.
Minnesota with Boston 5-2. So you're up to date on the scoreboard as Guerrero steps in now. Here in the eighth to face Bert Roberge, who becomes the fourth pitcher used by Montreal. Hester started, went out because of the injury. Then St. Clair worked, Bert worked, and now Lucas. And now here's the fifth pitcher. This is Bert Roberge. I believe I might have said four pitchers. 2-0 count to Guerrero. Grand slam home run. His last time up, got the Dodgers on top. Now the 2-0 pitch. That one's low and outside, ball 3, and it goes to 3-0. Roberge is making his 32nd appearance, 2 wins and 1 loss. Earned run average is good at 2.4 of it. Guerrero takes the strike, 3-1. The staff earned run average for the Montreal pitchers, 3.19, which is very good. They're among the league leaders. The Dodgers are the league leader, of course. Now the pitch in there for a strike. The Dodgers staff earned run average is 2.86. Three and 2 to Guerrero. Leading it off in the eighth inning. Dodgers 8, Montreal 3. Game 1 of the series. Honeycutt goes against Bryn Smith tomorrow. 3-2 pitch. Pedro grounds a foul behind Amalfitano. And the count still 3 and 2. Marshall and Brock to follow. Grand slam home run by Guerrero, not unexpected. Grand slam home run by Mariano Duncan was unexpected. The 3-2 pitch. Pedro grounds at the third. Foul ball down the line all the way to the ball boy. And the count holding at 3 and 2. Guerrero's grand slam came when the Dodgers were trailing 3-0 and looked helpless at the plate. They'd had one hit by Brock in the fifth inning, and Sachs a single, and Duncan a single before the grand slam in the sixth inning. Here's the windup in the pitch by Roberge, and Pedro hits a high pop fly on the right side. Backing out is the second baseman Law, calling as he goes out, puts it away, and we have one gone in the eighth. So Guerrero popped up. Pedro has had only 2 hits in the last 3 ball games, but they have been good for 7 runs. He's had 2 home runs. In the first game at Philadelphia, he had 2. San Diego has come up with 2 runs on a home run by Garvey in the 4th inning, his 16th of the year. Boy, the Padres are really making noises now, as if they really mean business. They lead New York 2-0, and the Padres haven't lost a game on this road trip. With a ground ball foul at third base to Marshall, by Marshall, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. So the Padres have won 7 out of 10, as have the Dodgers. The Padres have won 4 straight on the trip, and they're trying to make it 5 down in New York against the Mets, who are leading their division. Now the 1-1 look, the pitch on the way, low and outside ball 2, and it goes to a 2-1 count. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Marshall fouls this one back into the screen, 2 and 2. The Dodgers still lead the Padres by 8 games in the loss column. Cincinnati is tied with the Cubs. They were 3 back at the third, 9 back at the start of play tonight. Now the 2-2 pitch to Marshall, tapped over the mound in front of second base. Law there, up with it, makes his play, and Marshall is out. So Mike is 0 for 4 tonight, and he had a 7-game hitting streak coming in, and it might be gone. Here's Brockett back, 2 out of 3, showing signs of coming out of his mild slump. Greg with a .256 average, 16 home runs, and 48 runs batted in. But the Dodgers tonight scoring grand slams by Guerrero and by Duncan. Okay, Roberge ready to work. And the pitch to Brock is a strike, 0-1. In the bottom of the 8th inning, it'll be Law, Francona, and Brooks into the heart of the batting order for Montreal. Brock gets a ground ball to the right side, through the hole to right, a base hit. So Greg now has his 3rd hit of the game, and hit number 8 for the Dodgers. So Brock is turning it around. And here's Landreau, who came into the game and grounded into double play in the 5th inning. He came in as a pinch hitter, and then singled in the 7th inning and got the inning going. That followed Brock's single. Then a walk to Scotia loaded the bases, and it looks like the Dodgers wouldn't come out of it. The Scott struck out, and Reynolds hit into a force out, but then Duncan hit the grand slam. Landreau takes the first pitch for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-0 the count, 8th inning. 8-3 Dodgers. And Landreau takes one low. Ball 2, 2-0. After Landreau will be catcher Mike Scotia. 2 balls and no strikes. Here's the pitch. Landreau hits a high fly ball to right field. Francona has a bead on this one. And that's the end of the inning. No runs and a hit. 1 man left. And we'll go along now to the last of the 8th inning with a score. Dodgers 8, Montreal 3.
Well, bringing along a new bunch of kids as his playmates, Bobby Riggs set to go for his latest fling in Fantasyland at Atlantic City, New Jersey tonight, falling somewhere between show business and tennis, and being staged in the gambling capital of the East. The challenge scheduled for tonight is another test of the sexes and of age. Riggs and partner Vitas Gerulaitis are scheduled to play Martina Navratilova and Sam Schreiber at the Atlantic City Convention Center starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So that match has been going on for about an hour. We should get some results shortly. Riggs is now 67 years old, one of the great players of the 1940s, and, he's going to go 5 sets tonight, as significant as the possibility of winning. He says, I'm just worried if he can stay on his feet. It was Gerulaitis who touched off the entire scene a year ago when he commented during the U.S. Open that the 100th ranked man could beat Navratilova, then ranked number 1 among the women. Riggs, who more than a decade ago played matches against Margaret Court of England and Billie Jean King of our country, took advantage of the ensuing controversy leading to Friday night's match. The winning team will share $300,000, and the losers receive $200,000 apiece. So if you lose, it's not too bad of a secondary prize. It's $200,000 just for showing up. But I'm sure it'll be a good match. It's mostly for show. And again, if we receive the results, we'll pass it right along to you.
Well, we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Dodgers 8 runs. Montreal 3. Carlos Diaz ready to work to Law. Francona or a hitter. And then the Brooks. As we play now in the 8th, the Expos got single runs in the 1st, 2nd, and 5th. And they had 3 hits in each of the 2nd and 5th innings. And now the Dodgers exploded with grand slam home runs by Guerrero and Duncan in the 6th and 7th innings. And now here is Vance Law to come on, 1 for 3. Game 7 on the road trip. The Dodgers are even on the trip. 1-3, lost 3. Against Montreal on the year, they're all even at 3-3. Trying to get their 2nd win here for the year. And the Cubs will play 3 in Los Angeles in the 1st week of September. Here's Diaz now ready to pitch to Law. Started at 3rd base and is now playing 2nd. Takes a curveball for a strike, 0-1. Carlos Diaz making his 32nd appearance. The 0-1 pitch, and that one popped up on the right side of the infield. Sachs will call and make the play. That's 1 out as Law pops up. Here's Francona at bat. Single to drive home a run in the 5th inning. Grounded out his first 2 times. So Francona will bat with Brooks on deck and Thompson to follow. Of course, if Montreal gets anything at all going, it might get them close in the ball game. They still have their big guy, Andre Dawson, sitting on the bench. We're in the last of the 8th. And here is Diaz ready. The pitch on the way. In a little low, ball 1. 1-0 is the count. As Francona bats against Diaz, last half of the 8th inning. Again, the look and the pitch on the way. Breaking ball, a strike, and it's 1-1. Diaz with an earned run average under 2 at 1.8. Welch has an earned run average of 1.94, and Needham's your 1.90. There's a breaking ball just inside ball 2. 2-1. So the Dodgers with some pretty flossy earned run averages. The only ones that are not too good are Powell at 5 and Castillo at 6. 2-1. Diaz deals, third ball, and it's a little high ball 3. 3-1. 3 balls and a strike. But the last thing Diaz wants to do now is give up a base on balls with a 5-run lead. So we're in the 8th inning. And it's a 3-ball and 1 strike count with 1 out to pitch. It's in there, 3-2. After Francona will be Brooks. He'll be batting 4th. 3-2 count. Carlos reading signs from Scotia. The pitch on the way. Fly ball into center field will drop for a base hit. So Francona lobs a single into center field. And before we see about Brooks, we'll pause for station identification. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers Radio Network.
This is the Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Here's Brooks at bat now. Brooks had a double to right field, popped up and grounded back to the pitcher. So he'll be as 1 out of 3. And he had a little bad streak going for a while. Here's the pitch to him. Breaking ball is a strike on the inside corner. 0-1 to Gibby Brooks. One on. Bottom of the 8th inning for Montreal. Brooks takes low for a ball, and the count is 1-1. Hubie was 1 for 22 in his last 6 ball games. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 man out in the bottom of the 8th inning. Runner on first base leading away. Not being held on as Brock plays off behind him, and the pitch on the way. Fly ball to center, and Landreth's going to play this one easily. In to make the catch, and we have 2 down. Now we'll have a hitter for Thompson. And one of the newest of the Expos coming on, Galarraga, who just stepped into the lineup in a uniform today, making his debut. Galarraga is so new they don't even have him listed on the program. He came in from the minor leagues. Galarraga, Andre Galarraga from Caracas, Venezuela. Was at Jacksonville last year and hit .289. Galarraga. Andre Galarraga will bat for Thompson. Might stay in the game in the outfield. Galarraga. He just reported to the club yesterday and trying to get in today's ball game. Galarraga takes the first pitch, low ball 1. He's called back from the minors. Young man, big kid, 200-pounder, stands 6'3". He was born in 1961. He's 24 years old from Caracas. Batting with 2 out in the 8th. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Flicks his bat at it. They will appeal at first. No, said the first base umpire to me. You know, we were wondering about Grand Slam home runs for the Dodgers, 2 in 1 game. The last Sporting Bureau repeats the record for baseball. Set back to 1947, didn't find any. So at least back that far, it's the first time for the Dodgers to have 2 Grand Slams in a game. Galarraga swings and misses strike 2. It's a 2-2 count. Andre Galarraga. He looks like Tony Perez, and they figure that he's a pretty good hitter, and he's a big kid with a lot of power. At least he showed it in the minors. Now the 2-2 pitch. Struck him out, and the side is retired. So Diaz gets the rookie on strike. Down go the Expos, no run for the hit. Ross will be here with more play when we go to the ninth inning with the score Dodgers 8 and Montreal has 3.
Well, the Expos have one more hit than the Dodgers, but again, they go by the runs. Those 2 home runs with the bases loaded did it. 9 hits for the Expos, 8 for the Dodgers. The official report on the Expos starting pitcher, Joe Hesketh, is that he has fractured his left shin bone and will have a cast placed on his left leg, and most likely the youngster will not be seeing any more action this year. It's a bad break, not only for the pitcher, but for the Montreal club, who still has hopes of overtaking both San Diego and then, of course, number 1 team in the division, the Dodgers. A correction on that. Let's make it the other way around. Montreal in the Eastern Division hoping to overtake the Mets and Cardinals. They're 6.5 back right now. This is up to the moment. St. Louis has a 2 percentage point lead over New York in the National League East. And the Boston Red Sox today announced that the team physician recommends that right-handed pitcher Roger Clemens undergo surgery to correct a shoulder problem. Dr. Arthur Pappas released the results of tests taken at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center on Friday. Clemens' troublesome shoulder, which had forced him until the 15-day disabled list on Wednesday. The doctor said there is no evidence of any circulatory damage or any problems that would interfere with blood supply to the shoulder and arm, and no evidence of any career-threatening injuries. So that's good news for the Red Sox and Mr. Roger Clemens. Chicago and Cincinnati in the National League. After 8.5, it's still tied up at 2-2. Second game at New York. After 4, the Padres lead by a score of 2-0. They have already won the first game from the Mets.
Young Andres Galarraga is left in to play first base for Montreal as we go to the ninth inning. The Dodgers leading 8-3. For the Dodgers, it'll be Mike Scioscia, Steve Sack, and Bob Baylor to face Burton Roberge, the 5th Montreal pitcher of the night. And the first one misses outside for ball. Well, friends, you've tuned in to some Dodger history tonight. 2 Grand Slam homers in the same game. And the best of our knowledge, until a further check, the only time it's happened for a Dodger ball club, at least back to 1947. 2-1 to Scioscia. Pedro Guerrero hit a slam in the 6th to wipe out a 3-0 deficit, and Mariano Duncan with 2 out and another slam in the 7th. Raines will get it. One out, here's Steve Sack, who has singled in 3 at-bats. To add to the irony of the story, the 2 slams, is the fact that the Montreal pitchers this year have given up the fewest home runs in the National League. That's right. When the Expos bat in the bottom of the 9th, they do send up Herm Winningham, a pinch hitter for Roberge, and the kid up Sal Buciera. Sack, who took a look at a called 3rd strike with the bases loaded and nobody out of the 7th, is behind 0-2. Very high, 1-2. It's been a crushing night for the Expos. Not only have they blown a 3-0 lead in a game that they badly needed to win, but they've lost the starting pitcher for the year. Sack off of Roberge's glove to Brook, who still gets it. Still Bob Baylor, who came into the game in the 7th inning, the 3rd, will come up with the first out. Sack might have had 2 there, had not Roberge flipped it off his glove to Hubie Brooks. Bob Baylor had 4 hits in the game the night before last in Philadelphia. Looks for the strike. in the hands, and Baylor tumbles after fouling that one off. 0-2. And that hurt, Bobby. We'll join you again tomorrow at 4:15. Game 2 of the series for Montreal. Rick Honeycutt will pitch the Dodgers, and Glenn Smith, who is 14-4, will go for the Expos. Baylor hitting that one off the left ankle. That's out of play. If you join us along the way, Montreal pitcher Joe Hector fractured his left shin bone in a home plate collision with Mike Scioscia in the second inning, and the leg is in a cast. 1-2. Steve Brenner is back with another note. And we may have our answer to our 2 slams in the Dodger game. But a foul, and that'll make the move. They have now discovered that it occurred one other time in Dodger history. 2 grand slams in the same game. You probably don't remember it. September 23rd, 1901, when the infamous Joe Kelly and Jimmy Schlecker, Jimmy Scheckter, S-H-E-C-K-A-R-D, had grand slams. And they tell us that Jimmy came back and another slam the next day. Thank you, Bennett. Fly ball to left field at Tim Raines. He's got a long way to come, but he gets there. Taylor's gone. For the Dodgers. They're going to the bottom of the ninth. Los Angeles 8. Montreal 3.
Checking some more scores now. Minnesota, Boston in the American League. They finished 8th at Fenway Park, and the Minnesota Twins, with their 4 runs in the 7th, lead Boston by a score of 5-2. San Francisco and Philadelphia after 7. The Giants are leading the Phillies by a score of 2-1, but we now understand that they have scored again a home run by Brown. Brown hit one for the Giants, so now they lead by a score of 3-1, and they're still batting in the top half of the 8th inning. Chicago and Cincinnati, that game is over now. The Reds have won. Pete Rose had 1 hit, so now he's 12 behind Ty Cobb. I believe it's 12. We'll check that out, but he did get 1 hit. Cincinnati 3 runs, 8 hits, no errors, and for the Cubbies 2 runs, 6 hits, and no errors. Second game of a doubleheader in the American League. Chicago has 2 in the first, 1 in the second. They lead the Toronto Blue Jays by a score of 3-0. Second game in the National League after 4.5. It's the San Diego Padres 2, and the New York Mets nothing again. The Padres took the first game of that twin bill.
Bottom of the 9th inning in Montreal is simulcast, radio and television. The Dodgers leading the Expos 8-3. Thanks to 2 grand slam home runs by Pedro Guerrero and Mariano Brinson. The first time it has ever happened in Los Angeles Dodger history. 2 slams in the same game. And the first time in 84 years in the history of the Dodgers. In the 9th, Carlos Diaz will be looking at Herm Winningham. First hit at Jim Wolford. And we'll see about Sal Butera. Yes, Bobby, I pitched pretty well the other night, but I can pitch better. I'll have a chance Monday in New York, says Fernando. But remember, Bobby, we both have 8-game winning streaks. Well, that's true, Freddie, but my stuff's better than yours. Yeah, I don't believe that. Okay, here's Winningham, who's single, lined out, and struck out. And Winningham trying to burn his way on. Montreal with runs in the first, second, and fifth, build a 3-0 lead. And then the Dodgers dynamited them. Slams by Guerrero and Duncan. 4 in the 6th, 4 in the 7th. There's Jimmy Wolford, who will bat for Bert Rivers. Diaz in his third inning of relief can't get that bunt, and Sax will have no play. It's the second bunt hit of the night for the Expos. UL Washington had one of the second innings. It's the 10th hit for Montreal, 2 more than the Dodgers. Good play by Winningham since the Expos need runners. And once he got it past Carlos, he had it made. So a drag bunt single by Herb Winningham. And here's Wolford as the pinch hitter. Veteran outfielder is 4 for 13 as the next pinch hitter. 1 home run in that role and 5 RBIs on the corner for a strike. Jim hitting a little over 200. Last year he hit an even 300. And against left-handed pitchers a year ago, Wolford batted .353. So the 34-year-old from the Tascadero, Jim Wolford, trying to help the Expos in a comeback attempt here in the 9th inning. Wolford first came to the major leagues with Kansas City in 1972, went on to Milwaukee, San Francisco, now in his third year with Montreal. And Diaz ahead of him 0-2. As it now stands, Paul Hershiser will win his 5th in a row and his 13th of the year. The loss was good to Tim Burke, who surrendered the first Grand Slam to Guerrero. Nobody out, 9th inning, 8-3 Dodgers. Marshall started back, but he has time to come up and get it. 1 out. Sal Butera is 0 for 3. Slide to left and twice, bounced out to third. The Expos 2 outs away from losing their 5th in a row, all this week, at home. They were beginning a 9-game homestand. They got 2 more with the Dodgers and then 2 with the Giants next week. They're getting desperate to stay in the race. The first 6 pitches, 1 ball and no strikes to Butera. 1 on, 1 out. Diaz at the belt. And the next one. That's low. 2 balls and no strikes. The Dodgers have used Hershiser for 5, Howell for 1. Diaz for 2 1/3. The Expos pitch Hesketh, St. Clair, Burke, Lucas, and Robert. 2-0 pitch. Now it's foul past third. 2-1. It's a simulcast, radio and television, from Olympique Stadium, Montreal, where tonight's stage crowd was 21,124. Tomorrow, 4:15 warm-up time, 4:35 game time. Rick Honeycutt and Bryn Smith. And strike 2 called in the inside corner to Sal Butera. Jim Wallach is on deck. So the Rains have stayed away. They're in the 9th. Diaz is 5th. Breaking ball got him swinging. Butera tried to hold up and couldn't do it. And for Carlos, that's his second strikeout. 2 out of the 9th. And Tim Wallach is the hitter. Wallach smashed one back to third in the 7th inning. Bob Baylor just into the game backhanded her in 3 mounts. So the Dodgers trying to pick up victory number 72, hoping to get 25 games above 500. And the first pitch to Wallach is inside for a ball. It's It's been a history-making night for the Los Angeles Dodgers in Montreal. 2 Grand Slam homers by teammates on a Dodger club for the initial time in L.A. and for the first time in 84 years in the Dodger organization. 2 balls, no strikes. The next pitch to Wally. There's a bouncer to third. Baylor backs up, fields it, goes to second. Just no, safe. Joe West with a long look, and then said safe. Sachs was coming off the field thinking the game was over. But Winningham beat Baylor's throw. Bob had to back up. And by the time he checked it down to Sachs, it was too late. Close, thorough finish. And Winningham is real safe. 2 on then with 2 out. And Tim Raines gets a chance again to pick up his 4th hit. He singled and doubled twice before bouncing out of the 7th inning. Tom Niedenfuhr throwing in the Dodger bullpen. Diaz trying to get Raines and end it. The first pitch to Tim is a breaking ball that's below the knees, ball 1. The Dodgers have won 21 of the last 33 games they played here at Olympic Stadium. And they are ahead tonight 8-3 with 2 out and 2 on in the bottom of the 9th inning. Diaz set, delivers. And misses low, ball 2, 2-0. On deck, Vance Law. Now the stretch. And the 2-0 pitch to Raines. Ground ball up the middle and through. Into center field. Blast off Diaz's glove. That'll get Herm Winningham home to make it 8-2. And stopping at second is Tim Wallace. So Raines goes 4 for 5. Boy, is he a hot hitter. Here comes Tommy Lasorda. Vance Law coming to the plate. The Expos would have to get the on-deck hitter, Terry Francona, up there to have a chance. 4 behind, 2 on, 2 out. And Diaz will not be able to finish this one off. He allows 3 singles in the 9th, 1 a bunt hit. And the Dodgers will have to go to Niedenfuhr. We'll be back right after this.
At the Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati tonight, pinch hitter Cesar Cedeno singled with none out. Reds player manager Pete Rose went 1 for 4 and needs 12 hits to break Ty Cobb's career hit record of 4,191.
Trying to get to the final out at Olympic Stadium. The Dodgers leading the Expos 8-4. Incidentally, on the ball at Tim Wally, hit wide of third, and Baylor made the late throw to Sachs. Official score will rule that as a fielder's choice, not a base hit. Raines' single drives Diaz out. So Carlos goes 2 2/3 innings. Has not allowed a run. Now he has allowed 1 with the 1 just coming home. He's given up 3 hits. He had 2 strikeouts and no walks while he was in there. Niedenfuhr has won 6, lost 4, has a dozen saves, and a fine earned run average of 1.9. Niedenfuhr last pitch on Tuesday night in Philadelphia. He got a victory with 3 scoreless innings in relief when the Dodgers won it in 11. That was the night that Rick Honeycutt posted his first save of the season. And we will see Rick in a starting role here tomorrow against Glenn Smith. All right, Niedenfuhr completes his 8 warm-up tosses, and here's Vance Law. Law has a single and 4 at bats. The Expos have Wallach at second, Raines at first, 2 out. 8-4 Dodgers in the 9th. Hewitt, the bell delivered. And there's a pop foul. Back to the plate, out of play. The Dodgers trailed 3-0. Went ahead 4-3 on Guerrero's grand slam of the sixth. Got 4 more on Duncan's slam of the seventh. And the Expos back with 1 in the ninth. Law fouls another one back on a fastball. 0-2. The Dodgers now have out-homered the opposition this year. 63-32 on the road. 2 strikes on Law. These here are trying to give Walt Hershiser his 13th victory. Tom Reddy, the 0-2 pitch. Foul back again. Here in the inning, Whittingham opened with a bunt single. With 2 outs, Wallach's ground ball to third, fielded by Beto with a late throw to second. And in the two aboard, Raines singled home 1. Set by Newton, 0-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Thurston digs it out of the dirt. Tags Law out, who thought it was a foul ball, but instead it's the third out, and the Dodgers have a victory at Olympic Stadium. So the Dodgers come from 3 runs behind to win the series opener in Canada this weekend. So the Dodgers will win at 8 runs, 8 hits, and no errors, but 2 of the hits were grand slam homers by Pedro Guerrero and Mariano Duncan. 4 runs, 11 hits, and no errors for Montreal. Walt Hershiser is the winner. He's 13-3. The loss to Tim Burke. He's 8-2. He'd won 8 in a row until Monday night when the Mets beat him.